left Konoha, did he have a nagging doubt in the back of his mind? Did he make the right choice? Was this all worth it? Oh sure, Orochimaru had given him access, limited though it was, to power few could lay claim to, and tools that complemented his fighting style. But at times Mizuki felt he had traded one cage for another one. A larger cage for sure, but a cage is a cage nonetheless, the man contemplated. Fortunately, cages couldn't hold ninja for long. It might take some time, but he'd find a way out eventually. But as difficult a task as that would be to accomplish, making sure he wasn't caught afterwards would be an entirely different level of difficult. Orochimaru wasn't one to tolerate failure or subpar performances. Warnings were seldom given, and fortunate were those who did. Those who didn't were dead, and lucky were they, or worse. Mizuki had seen firsthand what happened to the latter. Death was the better alternative. Tsubaki was a prime example. Following him from behind was his lover, or at the least, the shell of Tsubaki. Mizuki had no idea exactly what had been done to her, as he had been sent on a mission. But Tsubaki wasn't the same kunoichi she used to be when he returned. She killed without hesitation. She did as he ordered. She did things she never would have done. Unlike him, Tsubaki hadn't adjusted to their new way of life as easily, and struggled despite her skill in genjutsu. Now she didn't struggle, but at the same time the life in her eyes were pretty much gone. Mizuki could only wonder what hell she had been through to get her into such a state of mind. Actually, he didn't want to know. Some parts of the human imagination were best left alone, and this was one of them. But despite the bad, there was also good. Mizuki's body had undergone a rapid transformation, but body more muscular compared to the more lithe one he possessed before. He could throw farther, harder, faster, and last much longer, too. And he had also recently been blessed with a gift from his master, too. Apparently, he and a few others had been chosen to test out its potency on the current mission. And given who he was dealing with, it might need it despite his improvements. Garbed as a Konoha ninja, Mizuki's headband lacked the slash that marked him as a nuke nin. This meant that even if he was spotted, people would think his actions were on behalf of Konoha, ruining their reputation. The smarter individuals wouldn't believe it, though some may try and take advantage nonetheless, but the ignorant ones would likely be too stupid to think otherwise. Mizuki-san, Mizuki heard Tsubaki's monotone voice. I sense 2 targets with large amounts of chakra just up ahead. I believe it's them. Good, was his reply. Finding their targets was easy with Orochimaru's network of spies. Getting them to cooperate might be a challenge depending on circumstances. Why Orochimaru wanted these 2 working for him he didn't know. But Mizuki knew better than to ask questions at this point. People usually weren't seen again if they asked too many questions. Sometime later. Getting Hadamaru to cooperate had been a challenge, and had not exactly endeared them to their clients. But none of the Konoha shinobi could really fault the poor ninkin either. The perfume smelled horrible. How the people of Yuzukamura considered this pleasant was unknown. Naruto honestly believed there had to be something wrong with their sense of smell. Once they were outside the village, Ino commented that the Shodai likely built the wall that surrounded the village so high and thick in order to keep the smell from escaping. The group laughed at the comment, but the laughing became short-lived once they reached the site of the ambush. And not for the reason they expected. God damn it. Naruto enjoyed the perks blessed upon by the gamer, but damn if random shit like this didn't annoy him. Gamer 2 has now been updated to Gamer 2.1. Please read the following for details on what this entails. Oh lovely, Anko snarked. What does this mean? Hinata asked. Doubt it's anything good, Ino remarked, basing her judgment on Naruto's reaction. I'll tell you in a minute. Naruto began reading the details that followed and frowned, and at times he looked ready to curse, but other times he looked content. Well, you want the good news or the bad news first? Bad news. Ino had been taught it was better to deal with the bad news first. This way morale was improved upon hearing the good news last. Good news. Unlike last time this took place, this won't require a waiting period or shut down. Anko breathed a sigh of relief along with Naruto. Neither Hinata nor Ino had been his teammates at the time, so neither of them knew what he was referring to. This next bit affects me more than you guys, but my affinities have been nerfed, so I don't gain extra health or chakra from him anymore, meaning his CP and HP were lower than before. They were still quite high, just nowhere as high as they used to be. Tough break, Anko told him. Her tone didn't reflect it. Which means when you guess earn similar perks, you won't get them either, Naruto added, but Anko merely shrugged. It could have been a lot worse in her opinion. Completing missions with rankings lower than your skill ranking won't give us at points anymore. The two youngest kunoichi of the group were confused by that. Skill ranking. It's a term used by shinobi to more accurately reflect the threat level and individual poses based on their aptitude. Village ranks don't accurately reflect the skills you possess. Just because you're a genin doesn't mean you have the power of one. It can go either way. Uchiha Itachi, Hatake Kakashi, Namikaze Minato, and my bastard of a mentor when they were genin, were more skilled than most low-ranking jonin before they got promoted. Another example is people having S-rank bounties, but that was due to the information they stole or possessed, rather than their skill level, due to past actions, or because people want revenge. Anko revealed, I'm guessing that's what it means. Yep. Let's see. Anko Sensei's skill ranking is B, Ino's is D along with Hinata's and Hato. Mine's a C, Naruto revealed. That's it. I call bull, Ino declared. Weeks and countless hours of hellish training and busting her ass off, and she was only a D. Blondie, indoor voice, we're still tracking, remember. Ino had the decency to blush, but her anger remained. Don't forget you've only been at this for a couple of months. So, Gaki, what affects this rank anyway? How many skills you possess, the skills rank, perks, your stats, bloodlines, titles, how many skills you've mastered, your equipment, other stuff. Anko didn't need to be a genius to know he was referring to the QB inside of him. Being a Jinchuriki likely played a huge factor, and the better control you had over that power, the greater the threat she wagered. Well, sucks that lower rank missions don't give out app no more. Any other bad news? Yeah, defense is gone, Naruto revealed. What? Now that was an issue. Well, I guess changed is more appropriate. The damage we take now is calculated by us blocking, parrying, and our resistances instead, and other variables. That's another thing. Tolerances and resistances are now one and the same. Resistances. Wearing armor will improve those alongside any skill that's defense-related. What else? Any technique or skill we learn will only have one level now instead of multiple levels, as we try and master them, and their CP usage, power, speed, and effectiveness will apparently be all over the place and based on our attributes, and equipment if they're weapon-based, but once mastered they will a hell of a lot better. Learning an improved version of the technique isn't automatic anymore, as we need to meet the requirements, which are based on our attributes. The more she heard about it, the more Anko believed that this current update was trying to make seem like it was based on reality. Titles reflecting swordsmanship and taijutsu will now all be the same instead of different. A quick glance at her status window showed Hinata that her novice Juken practitioner had changed to novice taijutsu practitioner, and the 20% exp and effectiveness towards Oti taijutsu skills had changed to 20% exp, power and effectiveness towards taijutsu skills, while everything else was gone. But she noticed something else too. My status window shows a new category, fighting styles. Hinata revealed and breathed a sigh of relief when the previous benefits her title had were allocated there instead. Yep, Naruto honestly believed it could have been a lot worse. Also, it states that those kinds of titles will only be earned if you master a fighting style, increase them in rank like novice to apprentice, and if you've defeated foes using skills related to them. Fighting styles will also only improve in rank once you master a certain number of skills associated with them too, and you can only learn certain skills if you've mastered certain techniques too. In other words, you can't just jump ahead to learn the more powerful skills, right? Anko surmised. Basically, which sucked. But any skill that was previously learned regardless of the new requirements will be grandfathered in. The group sighed in relief for the small mercy. Okay, enough bad news. Give us the good stuff, Anko ordered. Ninja ranks will no longer be titles, but their benefits remain. Successfully completing missions meeting or exceeding our skill. Rank and leveling up now grants us improvement points, IP for short. Improvement points? Yeah, apparently they replace AP now. We can use them to not only improve our attributes, but we can use to master a technique or fighting style we have too, provided we have enough to do so. Wait, so we don't have to train our asses off as much anymore to master them? Ino asked. I guess it was safe to say where Ino was going to be focusing on applying her hard-earned IP, but to each their own. Common perk points and special perk points have also been replaced with perk points, and we can't earn them by leveling up anymore. Any previous EPP we have will be converted into the appropriate amount of perk points, but we can still use them to buy or improve any special perk or perk we have on hand. Anko frowned. The reveal was a mix of good news and bad news, but the good, it seemed, outweighed the bad. Here's a good one. If we complete a mission that exceeds our skill rank, we can choose between learning a new skill from any foe we faced. What that skill we can learn depends on the mission rank, and/or choose to increase our attributes instead. Skills will have a wide gap between attack and effect duration until mastered, and the true modifier's ranks will now only apply to mastered skills. Don't know if it's good news or not, but buffs and debuffs have also been simplified. Instead of seeing burning, Level 2, they now only have 3 levels now. Burning, severe burning, and intense burning, but their strength and duration can be improved by techniques and items. Also, tiers are now gone, which I guess means that we won't be seeing the better gear drops as much as before. The latter's a bit disappointing, but not the end of the world. The limit for the amount of titles we can have equipped is gone. There's also a new feature available known as Death Blow. Apparently, if certain conditions like catching enemies off guard, or bringing their stamina down to almost nothing, or knock them out, we can either instantly kill a foe, or take out a massive chunk of their HP. How massive are we talking about? Anywhere ranging from 30% to 70% apparently, mostly against foes with levels much higher than us. Naruto elaborated, lower-ranking foes have a higher chance of being instantly killed, and foes killed by death blow now give double exp, triple if they're rare spawn, elites, or bosses. Love it. Critical hits were nice in Anko's opinion, but this was way better. People who gain from the gamer's perk, teammates, pets, and mentors now have the same benefits so long as the gamer allows it, with the exception of summons and any pets either of you may have. That won't work. Basically, you guys are now immune to genjutsu, I guess, instead of resistant. Sweet. Ino was down with that. Don't get cocky, Blondie. The more powerful ones can still mess you up, Anko chastised. And, yeah, that's it, Naruto finished. It was a lot to take in. Okay, good. Lot to take in, but glad it's not gonna impact our mission. Anko had been worried it would be the case, but Lady Luck smiled on them. Minor inconveniences had occurred, but they were livable. But when she learned of the update, Anko didn't want to take chances. Ninja adapted to their circumstances, but Anko didn't want anything happening to her charges that might result in their deaths, if that could be avoided. Any good Jonin instructor would do so. With that out of the way, all 5 members of Team 8 continued their search and trusted Hato's nose to guide them there. The swampy and uneven terrain made travel uneasy, and more than once was Naruto forced to carry Hato, as despite his small form, the bogs around them ended with him, sinking. When that happened, they were forced to use Anko's snakes. While their tracking ability wasn't as good as Hato's, their smaller, lighter forms enabled them to navigate through the wet terrain more easily than the young ninja of the group were lucky that they knew the water walking method, but even then, it was difficult as it technically wasn't water. Nor was it solid either. It was basically them trying to do both tree and water walking at the same time. To say nothing of the bugs and leeches. Ino would have complained. Not that anyone could blame her. But this was a stealth mission right now. However, their suffering come to an end when Haremaru's ears perked up and he tensed up. Grrr. Hold up, Naru told them Hinata. Hi. At once her eyes flared and her clan's bloodline limit manifested. Well over a dozen enemies, about 2 dozen. 2 have very high chakra levels. And there are 2 others that have higher chakra level than the rest, but less than the other 2. One of them is dark. 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 It's giving off a sense of unease, worry. Hinata elaborated. Anko frowned. Okay, be on guard. People with that kind of chakra could be bloodline related, but it could be something else. Where are the hostages? Hinata quickly found them to be in the same area and they were unbound. They're held in a makeshift cage, but otherwise they're not bound or anything, Hinata revealed. Anko deduced this to mean 2 possibilities. The leaders were either very stupid, or they were so feared that they didn't bother to bind their captives. As they all made their way towards the camp quickly but quietly, Anko learned it was the former of the 2, when she got a good look at who they were dealing with. But even then she was worried. Are you 2 kidding me? A familiar voice rang. Why aren't they bound? Do you want them to escape? They haven't run away before. That's because you got lucky. Wait, is that? No way, Mizuki-sensei. Ino gaped at her former academy instructor. It was only a couple of months since they last saw him, but she and the rest of the group hardly recognized the man. What was he doing here? Looks like Hokage-sama was right. Mizuki went nuke nin. No point keeping it a secret now that they'd be facing him. Guess that woman's Tsubaki. Anko-sensei. Mizuki-sen. Mizuki-san's the one with the dark chakra in him, Hinata revealed. It's strange, though. What do you mean? Anna, what I mean is his chakra. It's similar to the chakra coming from your neck, Hinata elaborated. Anko frowned, damn observant. Hyuga eyes. But if Hinata was implying what she believed she was, that's not good. Of course. Shut it, Ino. Anko's hiss had Ino puckering her lips unlike ever before. That chakra is bad news. This, she pointed at the faded mark on her neck, is bad news. It's a cursed seal. It gives you incredible power, but at a cost. Orochimaru of the Sannin gave it to me. The implication wasn't lost on either one of the genin. Shit, Naruto voiced what they all thought. Yeah. And to make it worse, we have those 2 to deal with as well. Anko frowned. Who are they, Anko-sensei? Hinata's family eyes flared to life. Her sight never left the 2 men with incredible chakra levels. Not greater than Naruto's own, but at least almost 1/3 the amount each. Reijin and Fujin. C-rank nuke nin, better known as the Densetsu no Bakakyudai. Legendary stupid brothers, Anko informed her team. Their skill rank marks them as C-rank, Anko-sensei. Naruto revealed, and Anko wasn't surprised. Their rank was lower than hers, but likely due to their incredibly low intelligence and lack of ninja skills, too. Their endurance and strength offset it, though, and made her wonder how much more of a threat they'd be if they had something between their heads. Legendary. Stupid brothers. Hinata wondered how they earned such a moniker. They're as thick as bricks and can't remember who's who half the time, and they're also too dumb to properly use ninja techniques, too. Make no mistake, their strength and endurance more than makes up for it. They can crush rocks and snap trees like twigs, explaining to her genin that their incredibly low intellect was the main reason why they weren't ranked, as B-rank Nukenin, despite their impressive superhuman strength. And most of the time they could be placated by food, which was often used against them or distract them from their main goal. And much of their crimes involved around it. We need to get these hostages out of here and fast. Anko hated being the bearer of bad news to clients. Why? Ino almost dreaded the answer. These guys have a short fuse and can be pretty sporadic. It's never been proven, but rumors about them say they won't hesitate to resort to cannibalism either. Ino and Hinata looked rather uncomfortable. What do you suggest? Ino asked. Anko-chan? Midori slithered up to Anko's ear and whispered something that only the two could hear. Yeah, that might work. She'd be incredibly sore and tired, but it might work. But we'll only have time to deal with one of them if we do. What's the plan? First, we gotta separate Mizuki, Tsubaki, and the stupid bros from one another. You three deal with Mizuki and Tsubaki, while I deal with the brothers and the bandits. Take them alive if you can. Hokage-sama wants them for questioning. How can we do that? I'm gonna provide you a distraction. I'm not gonna lie. Once it's over, I'm pretty sure Midori and I are gonna be out for the count. So you deal with them as quickly as possible. You free the hostages. And you come save my ass, Anko informed. Can't you just use Midori to scare them? Ino asked. Trust me, a single stupid brothers has more than enough strength to deal with Midori. They're that strong? This is gonna take something else. Now, here's the plan. All 4 lower-ranking members of Team 8 did as they were instructed, and got into position as quickly and quietly as possible. Naruto would deal with Mizuki, while Hinata and Ino dealt with Tsubaki. Hadamaru would stay behind with Anko and come to her aid if when required. We're going to be utterly exhausted after this, Midori told her partner. Anko snorted. Not like we've got a better plan. Even when she transformed, Midori lacked the full might of her previously non-cursed form, despite her claims otherwise. Midori knew it, Anko knew it, but that was a secret they kept between themselves. Seeing her team in position, Anko decided it was time to enact her plan, and hoped she could endure it long enough to deal with the 2 highly unintelligent, but just as strong gluttonous ninja that could rival an Akimichi clan member. Ready? Anko saw Midori nod. Both became enveloped in a white smoke, and then Anko enacted her blame. Idiot brothers. Every criminal in the looked in her direction. The large criminals blinked stupidly as they did, and then froze after their minds finally processed the sound they heard. Raijin, Fujin, and Mizuki felt fear to the point that it escalated with them beginning to shake like a leaf in a hurricane after they spotted the form of the only individual the legendary stupid brothers ever encountered that not only scared the living hell out of them, but outclassed them in terms of raw physical strength. Blonde hair split into pigtails, and a bust that made many gawk and leer and women envious. Her angry look made the criminals want to piss themselves. Instead, Raijin and Fujin prostrated their forms so quickly that the semi-solid ground not only shook, but had a deep indent from where their heads crashing into it. Tetsut Tsunade-sama. We. Shut up. The woman's bellow knocked out many of the bandits while the rest were scared shitless. What the hell do you think you're doing? So frozen and scared was neither idiot couldn't properly explain himself. No talking. It's time for a beating. The woman punched her palm and began to aggressively make her way towards the much taller individuals. Craters formed in the wake of her steps. 3 bandits proved to be as witless as their leaders and tried charging at her regardless. A mistake only one would never forget. One was backhanded halfway across the swamp. Another was planted so deeply into the earth he'd never be recovered once it reformed on top of him. And the other was finger flicked into unconsciousness, her body crashing into her comrades well over 100 feet away from the legendary Kunoichi. Raijin and Fujin attacked as one, not out of bravado, but fear and hope they could at least push her back so they could escape. It wasn't a very well thought out plan, as much like one of the lowly bandits. Fujin was backhanded into the nearby swamp, and Raijin was kicked into the air. It was a hell of a signal for Team 8. Death blow, Naruto mentally declared, appeared behind Mizuki and slashing him right in the back. Death blow failed to cause instant death. Death blow succeeded in reducing target's health by 63%. Damn. So much for going for an instant kill, but the damage was immense all the same, and Mizuki suffered a heavy loss nonetheless, with his health being reduced well below the halfway mark. Demon, Mizuki snarled, seeing Naruto, his eyes bloodshot. Yeah, Naruto brushed off the insult, not at all fazed. I'm gonna enjoy this. Right back at ya. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, shadow clone technique. A mass of clones appeared all around Mizuki, and the once cocky look he bore wasn't as confident now. There was no stare down between the clones and their target, no waiting for something to signal when to attack. The clones simply rushed the man with their weapons. But despite their numbers, Mizuki met them head-on and took out more than a few of them with his shuriken jutsu, and when the army of blondes tried slicing him apart, Mizuki dove into the ground to escape injury. Heightench, point-breaking kick. Ino struck nothing but air once more as Tsubaki took off into the air. The older Kunoichi's speed greater than her own, but then again the woman's status window revealed she had been a Chunin and C-rank threat. Ino was forced to dodge the flurry of stars that wanted to turn her into a pincushion, but the throw was nothing compared to Anko's, and the dangerous metal easily missed her. Ino herself countered with her own shuriken, hoping at least one would nick the woman. The sound of metal striking metal rang as each one were deflected by a kunai that appeared in Tsubaki's hand.
Damn it! Ino watched as the kunoichi landed, chastising herself for not using the water whip technique instead. Anko would likely chew her out afterwards.
Tsubaki rushed towards Ino, and while her speed was greater than the younger kunoichi, Ino's training and perks allowed her to keep out of harm's way. Up, down, twisting and bobbing, and parrying. Ino wasn't cut once, and when Tsubaki overreached, Ino grabbed the woman's arm. And a certain movement from her hand caused the blades from Dekatsu no Kamu, Dekatsu's bite, to pop out of the gauntlet and stab deep into woman's arm, the wound developing a green sheen and making the nearby veins become incredibly visible. But Tsubaki remained emotionless and had almost no reaction from the blow. A sudden kick from the older the kunoichi to the distracted Ino sent the Yamanaka rolling head over heel before she righted herself. Anko was very likely gonna reprimand her for that too. Meijin. Kokoni Arazu, no Jutsu, demonic illusion. False surroundings technique. Tsubaki suddenly declared, just as Ino entered a defensive stance. Fortunately for Ino, despite Tsubaki being Orochimaru's guinea pig, this had mainly affected Tsubaki's mental state to the point she was no different than a root ninja. Physical and chakra augmentation had yet to take place. As a result, Tsubaki's ninjutsu or taijutsu remained the same. Not that they had been her forte, and therefore her ability to use some of the more powerful and destructive techniques was out of reach. To compensate for this, the woman had turned to the more subtle arts such as tantojutsu, genjutsu, and other skills that required more fineness than power, and found her. The only problem: Ino was now immune to genjutsu. Thank you, update. Ino watched as the area around her contoured briefly before Gamer's teammate came into play and cancelled out the illusion for her. The Yamanaka watched as Tsubaki jumped onto a tree where she began healing her injured arm. The poison was nothing major, a minor poison taught to her by Anko that rendered that limb useless, but if left untreated it would begin affecting the other parts of her body. Even if Tsubaki removed the poison, its effects would remain for a few hours, or until she took the antidote. Removing the poison would only serve to prevent her other limbs from being affected. Ino looked on, cautiously, and realized that Tsubaki was eyeing her but making no moves. She thinks I'm caught in her technique. The girl mentally smirked as she decided to play along.
Ino adopted a look of confusion and began to wander around aimlessly in the swamp. All the while the girl kept an eye out on Tsubaki as she got out of the tree, making her way towards Hinata, who was freeing and protecting the hostages. The woman's movements akin to a cat stalking a helpless mouse.
Tsubaki now had a tanto in her hand, and Ino knew she would only get one shot at this. They weren't in a dungeon. If they died here, it was game over, period. Seeing Tsubaki ready her tanto and making a dash for her teammate, Ino waited until the last second before she sprang her counterattack on the unsuspecting Nukenin. Shinten-shin no Jutsu, Mind-Body Switch Technique. Mind-Body Switch Technique was successful. Under normal circumstances, the technique could be overpowered by those with a superior mental fortitude. In some instances, this was instantaneous, and in others it was gradual and took time, while others were unable to do anything, but even then the latter left the user aware of a nagging at the back of their minds. Tsubaki, whose mind had been broken by Orochimaru, couldn't overpower Ino, nor did Ino feel the usual sensation of one futilely trying to regain control of their body. All in all, this was without a doubt the easiest takeover Ino had ever performed. And that worried her. What the hell did she go through? Aside from those who willingly allowed control over their body, what kind of enemy wouldn't fight back in some way to regain control? A thought for a time when her life wasn't at risk. Hinata was handling bandits by herself, and Ino would make good use of the advantage this body gave her on the unsuspecting morons. While Ino and Hinata dealt with the hostages and the remaining bandits, and with Anko preoccupied with the legendary stupid brothers, Mizuki and Naruto continued their bond. Not that it could really be called one. Mizuki panted as he threw shuriken after shuriken after shuriken against the demon that was Uzumaki Naruto. Normally, he wouldn't be panting this hard, especially after the training and augmentations given to him by Orochimaru. But neither he nor Tsubaki had a chance to rest the moment they found their targets, and both of them had been traveling almost non-stop, and a trip from Oto no Kuni to the southern part of Hai no Kuni took days to reach even at ninja speed. Orochimaru had given him a strict timeline to recruit the legendary idiot brothers. Failure to meet that timeline was best left to the imagination. Mizuki regretted not resting, and not having any soldier pills. The former ninja of Konoha was running on fumes now. Using ninjutsu was out of the question. He barely had enough chakra for even a simple Moguragakure no Jutsu, hiding like a mole technique. Loath as he'd want to admit, the demon had superior stamina by comparison. Shaiso, Juren Hakai, Four Shadows Burial, Heavy Consecutive Annihilation. Mizuki was quick to replace himself with a wooden log that was utterly destroyed by the 4 clones that fell upon his previous location. Learning that it knew how to use the shadow clone technique was less than comforting. And the demon could create a lot of them. Mizuki was fortunate if could even make 2 before he left Konoha. At least based on what he was told, it was a Jonin technique after all, and even after everything he went through, he could only make 3. And now I have almost nothing left in me. Mizuki didn't want to use this so soon, having been warned that his current constitution likely wouldn't be able to handle the stress. But what choice did he have? Pulling a bottle from a pouch, Mizuki prepared to pull the stopper, but found himself neck deep into the earth, the bottle dropping from his hand by the sudden maneuver. The hate-filled ninja watched as Tsubaki rose from the earth with a grin, and he instantly knew something was wrong. "Nice to see you again, Mizuki-sensei," he heard his lover say, but it wasn't her. "Ino," Mizuki scowled, recalling that Tsubaki fought against a young pigtailed blonde. Yamanaka could take over their opponent's body by overpowering their target's consciousness with their own. "Just stay put while I take this." Ino grabbed the bottle as Mizuki struggled vainly. Were he not tired and were it a softer part of the swamp, he might have escaped, but that was not the case. "Say goodnight, Mizuki-sensei." Mizuki's eyes widened comically as a large club crashed on top of his head, and he became affected by the unconscious debuff. "Hey, I had him. I had him first," Naruto barked back. "You don't steal someone else's target." Bad sport, Ino. Ino merely responded by sticking her tongue out at her fellow blonde, to which Naruto grabbed. Ha! Naruto felt pretty good at the moment until he felt something pointy and sharp, poking his groin area, really.
Ino mumbled something he couldn't quite understand but accurately assumed it was to let go of her tongue and she'd leave his boys alone. Both blondes relented and freed one another from each other's grasp.
Gotta say, I thought this would be Ino found her mouth covered by Naruto. Don't jinx it, Naruto ordered. Never question good fortune. When it was clear she understood, Naruto took his hand off. How are the hostages? Safe with Hinata. But I can understand why the guards weren't tripping over themselves to save their village head, Ino informed him. Bitch?
Ha, being a bitch would be an improvement. What kind of person looked pissed and reprimanded you for taking so long to save them? The woman even mentioned she'd be writing to the daimyo to complain about Konoha not sending experienced ninja, and a bunch of teens instead of an adult, made Ino wish she could just leave her there.
Boom. Looks like Anko-sensei's still having fun, Naruto remarked, a fact Ino could attest to. Tsunade-sama, please mercy. Reijin had snot and tears covering the better part of his face swollen and purple. Great as his endurance was, Tsunade's strength could bypass it. Okay, Tsunade chirped. Reijin smiled, tears and snot rolling down his face even more as he looked up gratefully. Arai-rai! Bakram!
Many of the scared-to-death bandits threw down their weapons as one and surrendered while those furthest away from them tried to run into the marches with the hopes of escaping the powerful woman's wrath. Loyalty to Reijin and Fujin for most of them was out of fear of their legendary strength and resilience and anger. The woman in front of them easily proved they're better if the immovable and earth-embedded form of Reijin was to go by. A crater about 20 feet in diameter and who knew how deep wasn't done by your average individual.
Fujin Nishan! You're Fujin, you idiot, the disguised Anko barked. I am. Oh yeah. Anko dashed at Fujin before he could react, and landed a blow that should have rendered him unconscious, but the technique finally ended just as the blow landed. Enough to send the last stupid brother soaring and hopefully out of the fight. Oh fuck, Anko gasped, her entire being sore and tired unlike ever before. Anko-sensei. Hinata appeared beside her, the hostages with the Hyuga along with the tied-up bandits that surrendered. What was that? Ino asked her team leader while Hinata's hands began glowing on the tired kunoichi. A very special combination henge Midori, and I pulled off. Ah, huffed a clearly tired Anko. Combination henges with Sumo? Easy to pull off though. Snake summons can use a unique henge that turns him into ans, but they keep the strength and durability off their size. Midori and I used a combination henge to look like Tsunade-sama? Ha! Heard the stupid. Bros are scared of her. Big gamble though, to be honest. This was the first time we ever did something like that. In years. Oh fuck, I'm beat. Because of Midori's condition, the unique transformation technique of her clan was short-lived, more so than when she used the variant that allowed her to use the near strength of her original form. Using it alongside a combination henge with Anko caused the stunt to burn through an enormous amount of energy within an even shorter period of time.
They managed but both were utterly exhausted. Hinata saw the leader of Team 8 and Midori were suffering from minor chakra exhaustion, and very much doubted they'd be able to do any technique for the next little bit without putting their health at even greater risk. Hinata was no expert, but even at 100% pulling off such a move came with great risks.
Here, Anko tossed? A few scrolls. Imprisonment sealing scrolls? Use them, hurry. Ino nodded and went to work. The kunoichi started with Reijin and watched as he was sucked into the scroll, repeating the process with Mizuki and Tsubaki before she went to find Fujin. Gah! Ino tried to duck but found her male teammate slamming into her midriff, and both went tumbling into the muck. Not good. Fujin was still conscious. Bark. Ino listened as Hato and Fujin fought, the Ninkin ablaze and raking the large criminal's body, and biting his neck. But strong as Hato was in this form, thanks to Fujin's perks, they might as well be love bites. Bad doggy! Fujin jumped and landed on his back. Yippee! The force ended Hato's transformation, and the smaller Ninkin found himself being grabbed by the scruff of his neck.
This doggy looks tasty. Fujin licked his lips before he opened his mouth as wide as he could.
Conditions met. Initial Jinchuriki form chakra cloak activated. The remaining stupid brother only saw a flash of red before the world blurred, and it was only in part of Fujin's incredible resilience and fortitude that prevented his skull from being caved in by the club of condensed stone and earth. But the sheer force behind it sent him through a large mangrove tree before he ricocheted off another, and then landed in a shallow area of brackish water. The brother didn't even have time rise up before his head was subjected to an unrelenting berserker-driven onslaught that ultimately sent him off to the land of dreams. But even then, it did little to quell Naruto's red-hot rage, the boy continuing his pummeling assault despite the target no longer being conscious. Naruto? The blonde lashed out at the voice, but so enraged he was that he didn't realize that they were nowhere near enough for him to strike them. A fact Ino was thankful, for as the sheer pressure from the swing alone was enough to push her back by a step. She could only imagine what would have happened had the blows struck. Grrr. Naruto? Ino looked worried. Was this a skill she didn't know of? One that offered power, but rendered one feral. Grrr. Naruto! It's me! Ino told him, but it wasn't enough. Lucky smiled upon her when Hato barked a weak bark that seemed to knock some sense into the blood. The red aura surrounding him dissipated, but Ino was worried regardless. And judging by the looks of the onlookers behind her, she wasn't the only one. Quest completed. Clear the bandits from Yuzukamura. Quest. Difficulty upgraded from C rank to B rank. Main quest primary objective. Find and eliminate the bandits accomplished. Main quest secondary objective. Find and capture the bandits' leader or leaders accomplished. Side. Quest. If possible, save any hostages accomplished. Hidden quest. Stop Mizuki and Tsubaki accomplished. Potential rewards. Main quest primary objective. 300 XP per bandit eliminated. 450 XP per bandit captured. Bandits killed 7. Bandits captured 18. Main quest secondary objective. 10,500 XP per bandit leader captured, half if killed, and 250. Reputation, Konoha, and Yuzukamura. Side, quest, 550 XP per hostage saved, 9-10 hostages saved. Hidden quest, 3,500 XP per individual captured, half if killed. Unknown potion. Total rewards including perks. 49,622.5. XP 1. Perk point, 250. Reputation, Konoha and Yuzukamura, 3. Improvement points. Additional reward due to completing quest above skill level. Choice of improving one attribute by amount depends on individual's skill rank and quest's rank, or choice of skill equivalent or lesser than quest rank. The next day. The team now leveled up by a considerable amount, Hinata and Ino by 3, Hato by 2, and Naruto by 1, but he was pretty much on the tipping point of leveling up to level 31. At least, in terms of setting out what they intended to accomplish. Overall, Anko liked to believe the mission wasn't a disaster. How it was accomplished could have been better. That Naruto would call upon the Demon Fox's power in the end was not an anticipated scenario. Her ignorance on the seal that kept it locked up aside, Anko should have. Anko knew it was hypocritical of her to give such a lesson but not practice what she preached.
Saying, "Do as I say and not as I do," wouldn't have earned her any points as a teacher. Though perhaps she also believed too much in the Yondaime Hokage and his skill. The man was a prodigy and outranked even his legendary, infamous mentor in the field of seals. It was evident the seal wasn't as good as she believed it was. She'd have to have a word with the Hokage when they got back.
Hinata, Kami bless her, liked Naruto too much to push or ask questions he wasn't ready to answer. Ino, unfortunately having a front row seat to the incident, still had that habit to snoop and get answers to questions she wanted answered. The blonde was quite good at it. The purple-haired serpent summoner would give the Yamanaka the benefit of the doubt to let the matter drop until Naruto was ready to talk about it, but would intervene if necessary. She couldn't have the team dynamics thrown up in the air. Fortunately, the blonde believed it was a technique Naruto learned that came at a cost. For now, Anko just enjoyed her beverage and couldn't blame the villagers for the celebration. The bandits were caught or eliminated, and their leaders, the legendary Stupid Brothers along with Mizuki, were safely sealed away in an imprisonment sealing scroll. Not an easy feat given their reputation as near B-rank missing ninja. The both of them would remain sealed away until they arrived in Konoha, until a qualified ninja came to cart them off to the nearest prison. Mizuki and Tsubaki were also to be dealt with, despite the former being dead and the latter being catatonic as a result. When Anko wanted to interrogate Mizuki about the seal he had, a fail-safe had unfortunately gone off, killing the former Konoha instructor. Anko should have anticipated such a thing the moment she saw the seal. Orochimaru rarely, if ever, left any loose ends. For it was clear to her that this was her master's work. And despite it being different from the dormant brand on her person, there was no denying it reeked of Orochimaru. Even dead, Mizuki's seal still had echoes of dark and potent chakra she was all too familiar with. Fortunately, the former Shunin of Konoha was a cocky individual whose sense of superiority and dislike of Naruto got the best of him. Anko wasn't certain if Mizuki hated Naruto for who he was, for being a former victim of his pranks, or if he just hated those he had taught altogether and had gotten off by being vindictive or cruel. The bottle in Anko's hands was also very concerning. Ino managing to nab it off him before it could be used had been smart on her part. Speaking of her future apprentice. What's the verdict, Ino? Anko already had an idea but wanted her future apprentice's opinion nonetheless. The Yamanaka clan could uncover things about a person's mind that would prove difficult even for the most skilled of interrogators, even if said person was dead or catatonic. In a couple of words, messed up, Ino was blunt but accurate in her summation. I don't know exactly what was done to her, but there are tons of traps, broken windows, and false trails planted in her mind. Her mind is beyond fractured. It's fractured to the third power. Without knowing her personally, I can't tell which is which. This is beyond my skill. It also explained why she was able to easily take control of the woman. That's his work all right, Anko educated her student. The bastard is a sick, twisted genius of the highest caliber. If Mizuki were alive, it might have helped you discern what memories are real, but Orochimaru might have taken that into account, and that poses an even greater danger for you. Your old man might be able to glean a few things here and there, but for all intended purposes, she's gone. Even if we had Tsunade-sama's help, I doubt we'd be able to heal her mind completely, if at all, if not for the potentially salvageable information her mind held. Anko would have ended the rogue Kunoichi's life. Then and there. Poor woman would have to suffer a few more weeks of it before she was finally at peace. Even the Sandaime wouldn't allow her to live out her remaining days in prison, or a secure mental ward, regardless of her actions and being a rogue ninja. Naruto's ability might heal her, but there was no guarantee, and too great a risk. The fewer who had knowledge of it, the better. What are you to do with her now? Take her back with you, asked the village leader, the woman wanting to be present for this. Her mood better than before, but she was still a bitch in Anko's opinion. You don't piss off someone who saved you. She's a Konoha Nukenin, so she'll be coming back with us, Anko. Vegetable or near vegetable that Tsubaki was, the Yamanaka heiress knew protocol. Nukenin were to be brought back dead or alive, or at least their head or something that proved whom it was claimed to be without a shred of doubt. Dead was preferable in certain circumstances, but sometimes the village wanted them back alive to learn what they did, or if they spilled any village secrets. Simple, yes, wool. Yuzuka-sama. What is it? Yuzuka barked, annoyed by the interruption. Urgent! Message for Anko-san and her team. Enter! The villager didn't have to be told twice as she entered the room and handed a scroll to Anko. As she began reading, Anko ordered Ino to summon Hinata and Naruto. A quick use of the chat function had both genin arriving within a few minutes. What is it, Anko-sensei? Naruto asked, Hinata and Hato right behind him. Emergency mission, kiddos. We've been asked to assist Team 7. Pack your shit up and get ready to leave in 10. We're heading to Nami no Kuni. Status window. Name, Uzumaki. Naruto. Job. Genin, 15% XP gain and 15 IP per year. Skill rank. C. Level. 30 next level. 97%, 100%. HP. 11,525. CP. 19,225. Stat area 71. Vit. 341. End. 469. Dex. 93. Int. 53. Wis. 59. Cha. 16. Look. Improvement. Points. 18. Perk points. 12. Specialization. None. Fighting. Styles. Konoha. Kenjutsu Ryu. Novice. 1 towards Dex per level, active as of level 30. Special perks. Gamer. Allows you to view and live your life as though it were a video game. Yubi no. Yokojin Chiriki. Additional 5. Vit and 7.5 end per LV. 250 CP per LV. 25% power towards all skills. 50% increase toward UHP regen. And ACP regen outside of combat, immune to basic and journeyman poisons. 25% XP and effectiveness towards Uchakra control skills. 25% reputation gain towards a Konoha populace, whose relationship with you is below neutral. Unknown blessing. Your luck is immeasurable. Don't be fooled as it can go either way at random. Perks buffs.
Additional 5 bit and 7.5 end per LV, 100 HP per LV, 25% additional express and effectiveness towards Fuinjutsu skill, minus 15% XP and effectiveness towards chakra control skills.
Chakra affinity, expert rank, ACP regen and elemental resistances, increased by 15%, speed, power and effectiveness towards ninjutsu skills increased by 15%, CP usage towards ninjutsu skills decreased by 15%. Vigor affinity, journeyman rank, AHP regen and I physical resistance increased by 10%, fatigue levels decreased 10%. Titles. Prank King, additional 1. Dex per LV, 25% additional XP and effectiveness towards stealth skill. And O-trap based skills, 25% reputation gained towards pranked for 24 hours.
Expert Zombie Slayer. 60% power, express, money against undead-based monster, 30% increase towards attributes against undead-based monster, 30% chance of double loot occurrence against undead-based monster, 10% increase towards resistances against undead-based monster.
Description: Uzumaki. Naruto's background is shrouded in mystery. Currently an academy student with inspirations to become Hokage, Naruto has a long and difficult journey ahead of him before he can attain his dream. At the moment, many consider Naruto as a shoo-in for the title of Dead Last. Status window. Name: Hadamaru. Job: Ninken. Skill rank: DD. Level: 24, next level, 21%, 100%. HP: 1700. CP: 11. Star: 39. Vit: 67. End: 45. Dex: 48. Int: 20. Wis: 29. Cha: 33. Look: 28. Improvement points: 17. Perk points: 2. Specialization: N A. Fighting style: N A. Perks: Ninja Dog. Human lifespan: ability to mold chakra, potential to speak human language. Komeinu. Lineage: Guard Dog. 1 Vit, LV 15% effectiveness, and XP towards U-biting based skills, and U detection based skills, 20% effectiveness, power, and XP towards U fire based skills. Akita. Lineage: Tracking Dog. 1 Dex per LV, 15% effectiveness and XP towards E-tracking skills, 15% effectiveness, and XP towards stealth-based skills, 10% towards movement speed during and outside combat. Keen senses: 15%. Effectiveness and XP towards U-detection skill. Ignores henge, strong and pungent odors can result in debuffs. Tiles. Journeyman. Zombie Slayer. 40%. Power, exp, money against undead-based monster, 20% increase towards attributes against undead-based monster, 20% chance of double loot occurrence against undead-based monster. Description: a too-old ninja dog with Komeinu blood in his veins. While possessing great potential like his cousin Akamaru, Hadamaru, like most Komeinu pups, require a good amount of discipline and can be difficult to train but are fiercely loyal and protective of their owners and partners. Status window. Name: Hyuga Hinata. Job: Genin, 15% XP gain and 15 IP per year. Skill rank: DD. Level: 23, next level, 11%, 100%. HP: 1225. CP: 1925. Star: 31. Vit: 49. End: 77. Dex: 59. Int: 77. Wis: 72. Cha: 20. Look: 16. Improvement points. Perk points: 1. Specialization: none. Fighting styles: Yuka Nunovis, 1 towards N per level, active as of level 20. Special perks: Gamer's teammate. So long as you are on the same team as the gamer, you gain the same benefits. This perk can be taken away if the gamer wills it. Byakugan. 1 Wiz per LV, 20% XP and effectiveness towards Umidakal Ninjutsu. Ju detection skills, 20% increase towards U critical hit chance, allows the use of the Dubikugan skill. Perks: Main family lineage. 1 int and 1 end per LV, 15% effectiveness towards Wayuga clan skills, 15% reputation gain with Konoha and Konoha allies, 15% XP and effectiveness towards bartering with Konoha and allies, 15% XP, power, speed, and effectiveness towards taijutsu skills gills. Titles: Novice, Taijutsu Practitioner, 20% XP, power and effectiveness towards taijutsu skills. Novice, Medical Practitioner, 1 whiz and 1 int per level, 20% XP, power, and effectiveness towards medical-based skills and items and herbalism skills. Novice, Zombie Slayer, 20% power, XP, money against undead-based monster, 10% increase towards attributes against undead-based monster, 10% chance of double loot occurrence against undead-based monster. Flaws, debuffs. Diffidence, AOV, 10% towards attributes, 10% XP, power, speed, and effectiveness towards skills, benefits of titles and perks reduced. Flaw will become permanent upon reaching max level. Description: Hinata is a very kind but very shy young girl who comes from one of Konoha's 4 noble clans. Despite being trained in the art of the gentle fist at a young age, a renowned and deadly taijutsu, Hinata's skill is lacking for reasons currently unknown. While not one of the best students in the academy, Hinata is still one of the more intelligent students. While most of the girls in her class are infatuated with Sasuke, Hinata is attracted to someone else. Her love for cinnamon rolls is said to rival Uzumaki, Naruto's love for ramen. Status window. Name: Yamanaka Ino. Job: Genin, 15% XP gain and 15 IP per year. Skill rank: DD.
Level: 21. Next level: 88%, 100%.
HP: Evan 50. CP: 1575. Star Yarn: 36. Vit: 46. End: 63. Dex: 69. Int: 61. Wis: 60.
Cha: 90.
Luke: 25. Improvement points: 27. Perk points: 2. Specialization: none. Fighting styles:
Rankyaku Novice, 1 towards Dex per level, active as of level 18.
Special perk: Gamer's Teammate. So long as you are on the same team as the gamer, you gain the same benefits. This perk can be taken away if the gamer wills it.
Yamanaka Lineage Heiress 2 Cha per LV, 25% effectiveness towards Yamanaka clan skills, 25% reputation gain with Konoha and Konoha allies, 25% XP and effectiveness towards bartering with Konoha and allies, 15% express, power, speed and effectiveness towards lightning-based skills and items, 25% towards mental-based tolerance, 5% XP increase from quests.
Perks:
Natural Grace, LV1, 1 Dex per LV, 15% effectiveness towards movement speed and evasion, 15% effectiveness towards speed-based skills, 15% effectiveness towards acrobatic fighting style.
Titles: Journeyman, Botanist. 1 whiz, 40% XP and effectiveness towards detection skill. Locate Flora, 40% XP and effectiveness towards herbalism skill, 20% power and effectiveness towards skills. When fighting in flora-based monsters, 20% chance of double loot occurrences when picking flora-based items.
Future Femme Fatale, 1 Cha, 20% XP and effectiveness towards seduction skills and bartering skills, 10% power and chance towards critical hits.
Novice, Zombie Slayer, 20% power, XP, money against undead-based monster, 10% increase towards attributes against undead-based monster, 10% chance of double loot occurrence against undead-based monster. Description: Though not as intelligent as her rival, Sakura, Ino is still one of the top students at the academy. Ino is talented in her clan's teachings, but due to her attitude and infatuation with Sasuke, she isn't as far or as proficient as she should be. Ino is notorious for her gossip and fashion sense. Very little happens in the academy that she doesn't know about. Status window. Name: Mitarashi Anko. Job: Jonin. 30% XP gain and 30 IP per year. Level: 53, next level, 61%, 100%. HP: 3150. CP: 2600. Stutter 9. Vit: 126. End: 104. Dex: 127. Int: 118.
Wis: 102.
Cha: 108. Look: 54. Improvement points: 11. Specialization: Torture and Interrogation Ninja increases associated titles and perks by an additional 25% and increases associated attributes by 1. Special perks: Gamer's Mentor. So long as you are on the same team as the gamer, you gain the same benefits. This perk can be taken away if the gamer wills it. Perks: Gifted Ninja. 10% effectiveness, power and exp towards all skills. 10% exp earned on missions and defeated foes. 1 additional attribute point per LV. Serpentine Grace. 2 dex per LV, 25% speed increase towards Utaijutsu skill, evasion skill. 2 counter skill, 25% power towards critical hits.
Height Intolerance Poison LV3. Immune to Novice, Journeyman and Expert LV Poisons. Resistance towards Master LV Poisons increased by 75%. Resistance towards Grand Master LV Poisons increased by 50%. Resistance towards Legendary Grand Master LV Poisons increased by 25%.
Titles:
T Expert Enhanced. 2 Cha per LV, 85% effectiveness and express towards T skill, 85% effectiveness and express towards Intimidation skill.
Toxicology Expert. 60% effectiveness, power, and exp towards N poisons. 60% XP towards detoxicology skill. Snake, Mistress of Konoha. 25% reputation gain towards a Konoha population below neutral. 25% effectiveness, power, and XP towards U combination techniques skill with Konoha populace below neutral. Journeyman, Zombie Slayer. 40% power, exp, money against undead-based monster. 20% increase towards attributes against undead-based monster. 20% chance of double loot occurrence against undead-based monster. Flaws, debuffs. Sealed, Cursed Seal of Heaven. 30% effectiveness, power, and exp towards skills. 30% towards base attributes. 30% XP towards quests and enemies slain. Reduces bonuses from perks, titles, and special perks by 30%. Can be removed. Description: Not much is known about Mitarashi Anko's past, as she tends to keep to herself and only opens up to those she truly trusts. Hailed as a skilled ninja at a very young age, Anko later went on to become one of Konoha's top torture and interrogation specialists and an accomplished tracker, accomplishing tasks where others other than the Inuzuka failed. Due to her tutelage, Anko is one of Konoha's best toxicologists, having used and created many unique poisons, both in the field and during interrogations. Her love of dango is quite well known and feared in certain circles, some say surpassing even Uzumaki Naruto's love for ramen. Chapter 18. Tsunami no Kuni. We go. Quest alert. A or B. but definitely not C, B rank. Main quest: assist Team 7 in protecting Tazuna. Side quest: gather as much information and evidence on Gato to have him brought to justice. Must acquire a minimum of 4 forms of evidence to succeed. Side quest 2: assist the inhabitants of Nami no Kuni. Hidden objectives: 4. Potential rewards: main quest, 65,000 XP, 250,000 Ryo. 5. Improvement points: reputation with Nami becomes exalted. Rewards will be increased if quest rank increases. Side quest 1, 6,500 XP, 10,000 Ryo, and 1 improvement point per evidence found. Must find a minimum of 4 to succeed. Side quest 2, 3,000 XP. Hidden objectives: failure: reputation level with Nami becomes abhorred. Potential death of group members, or worse, potential chance of permanent crippling injury status effect. Potential loss of genin rank. Potential additional rewards: quest above skill level. Choice of improving one attribute by amount depends on individual's skill rank and quest's rank, or choice of skill equivalent or lesser than quest rank. Quest is mandatory. Despite it being last minute, fortunately for Team 8, Yuzukamura's residents were more than willing to help them since accomplishing their mission. Less than half a day south of the village by non-ninja standards was a harbor used by Yuzukamura and several other nearby villages. After handing off the 4 detained ninja kept inside scrolls, which would be kept under lock and key, Team 8 made a mad dash towards the harbor. Though Anko had informed the village heads on how to placate the idiot brothers on the off, but very unlikely chance they escaped their scrolls. Mizuki being dead and Tsubaki being comatose made it so they weren't threats. After showing the harbor master the village leader's scroll, they were off within half an hour on their fastest boat, and aided by one of their best captains. The voyage up the Gulf would take them nearly a day, but luck was on their side and they would be dropped off as close as possible to the area where the border of Hai no Kuni and Nami no Kuni met. Normally traveling by boat would have been slower, and where they needed to cross was still about a day's journey away, as the area still wasn't the greatest for about 50 miles or so even at their speed. But it was still faster than trying to cut across unaccommodating terrain on foot, which would have taken them over 5 days, if they were lucky, before they reached a decent road. This way they saved several days and hopefully could meet up with Team 7. Naruto, for his part, looked elated, for finally had that damned timer for his keys. Finally reached 0-1. In the end, all he got was a new but weather-beaten key for an item and a new title. Kakojidai no Kagi, key of a bygone era. Epic quality. Item type: quest item. Durability: one-time use. Description: a special key that opens a special but difficult dungeon. Upon use, the key will disappear and the dungeon will become available. Minimum requirements: level 30. Skill rank C. Novice. Dungeon Master. 15% increase towards attributes, XP, skills and item drop rate while in a dungeon. CP cost for all skills reduced by 15% while in a dungeon. 15% chance of not suffering death penalty while in a dungeon. Conquering a dungeon for the first time results in an additional 25% increase in rewards. Were they not about to undergo a mission, Naruto would use it to see what this new dungeon was like, especially with the new title. He made a mental note to do so once they were back in Konoha, and made a mental note to try and acquire the Yosokani, elemental metal, from the primordial dungeon when he had the chance. "Alright, gather round. I know you've got questions," Anko told her group. The 5 of them were in a decent-sized cabin given to them by the crew. A luxury they would cherish, for who knew what they would have to endure in the future. "What happened exactly?" Ino asked, knowing only the bare bones. Close to 5 days ago, Hokage-sama allowed Team 7 to take their first C-rank mission. Nothing special, just your standard escort mission from Konoha to Nami. No Kuni. Kakashi apparently has had slow success in getting his team to work together despite passing his test. He must have thought that a potential encounter with some bandits would get them to start acting like a proper unit, the woman told the group. Given that Kiba was always looking to be alpha dog and Sasuke wasn't one that liked being one-upped, Naruto could see it. However, turns out their client lied. Anko revealed to a surprised group of genin. Yeah, it happens. Not often as you'd think because every village, especially the Great Five, have penalties whenever it happens. The higher the mission rank is the bigger the penalty. Team 7's mission has potentially jumped from C rank to B rank, maybe higher, and Hokage-sama doesn't believe they're cut out for it at the moment. They encountered the Onikyudai, Demon Brothers, Gozu and Maizu, about 4 days in, and if their bingo book history is anything to go by, they don't work alone. Leaders or followers? Naruto wondered what their roles were. No idea. The bingo book's tells have limited info on them. That said, if the grapevine is anything to go by, it's believed to be the latter. But since they're just small fry ninja, much of that info is based on rumors, so we don't know for sure. Those two are only C-rank nuke nin, but that's if they work together. What worries me is that they were former associates of one of the 7 swordsmen of Kirigakure. Can't remember which one, hopefully one of the dead ones. Most of them were killed during their failed coup, but 1 or 2 were said to have survived. 7 swordsmen? You mean Kiri's strongest fighters? Naruto gawked. Bingo. Okay, so, no offense to us or Hokage-sama, but why the hell is a genin team? 2 if you count Team 7, been tasked with dealing with a mission that's clearly meant for a more experienced group? Ino asked. Naruto would have argued, but given the mission parameters, the Yamanaka heir had a good point. This might be better handled by a group of experienced Chunin, or another Jonin, or at the very least one of the more experienced genin teams. This may come as a surprise, but while Konoha has a large force of ninja of varying rank, 20-odd% of them are genin rank, 30 to 40% are Chunin to Jonin rank, 15-odd% are Anbu rank, and the rest are non-combative such as medics, cryptologists, and retired ninja. As of now, those ranks are stretched pretty damn thin, and for that you can blame the Chunin exams that's being held in a few months? Anko revealed. Chunin exams? Anko-sensei. Hinata wondered what that was. Anko blinked and realized she blundered. Oh right. That's meant to be a secret for new teams. Meh. Whatever. It's a series of tests used to determine if genin have what it takes to be promoted to Chunin. It's being held in almost 3 months' time. Konoha is hosting it this year, so it takes a lot of manpower to make it run smoothly. But it ain't just that. Borders have to be tightened up, guests and dignitaries dealt with, and accommodations need to be made. When all is said and done, it's a real shit show. The scroll said we were the only team close enough to Nami no Kuni to be called upon. My guess, the more qualified people are likely too far away, too busy on another mission, or both. And chances are they won't make it in time compared to us if it goes up shit's creek. But that's not all. What a surprise, Ino guessed there had be more to the story. Alright, what else? President Gato of the Gato Company is apparently involved, Anko revealed, getting a blank look from Ino and Naruto. Fortunately, Hinata did know, Gato. As in the billionaire shipping magnate of the Gato Company. The Hyuga got a nod from Anko. How's a wealthy individual like him involved? Apparently Gato's more than he would appear, Anko elaborated by reiterating the details that Kakashi had provided to Konoha. By the end of the brief, none of them were pleased by the turn of events. The fact that Gato was responsible for bringing a small country to near ruin, Tazuna lying and putting a team of Konoha shinobi lives at risk, and the fact that Kakashi and his team continued on despite the potential danger they'd face. Though for the last part it was more complicated as Tazuna basically blackmailed them with his sob story. The last thing Konoha needed was a bad reputation of jumping ship when things got a little rocky. Especially when they were nearing the Chunin exams in a few months.
So, as of right now we've been tasked with undertaking an emergency C-rank mission. Given the quest that popped up, it's likely a B rank one with the chance of it potentially becoming an A- rank mission. We're to assist Team 7 as much as possible, but Hokage-sama wants us to find out as much as you can about Gato and if possible to bring him in for questioning. Not gonna lie, outside of wartime this isn't something a bunch of greenhorns should be tackling, Enko explained.
Hey! We're way more experienced than the other teams. Thank you, time dilation. Fair enough. But beating up corpses and animals, and a small group of bandits is different. This is more than kicking ass, it's about info gathering, assassination, and doing others things that none of you have truly experienced before. The stuff you'll be doing are things normally assigned to Chunin and Tokutesu Jonin. Blondie, I'm gonna need to teach you a few things before we land, things you might be uncomfortable with. Ino knew that it wasn't like she had much choice. Also, you guys acquired a good deal of IP, right? Use them, and if there's any good perk you can get with your current perk points, I want you to use them. Now's not the time to be frugal. We need every advantage we can get to increase your chances of surviving. Anko chastised herself for not having them do so before they faced the Densetsu Baka Kyodai, but she wasn't going to make that mistake again. Sorry, Anko-sensei, but the minimum requirement to buy at the perk point shop is 315 if you want to buy a special perk. At best, Ino and Hinata could improve one of their existing perks, Naruto revealed, and Anko cursed. Alright, fine. See which one of the perks is worth enhancing for now, or save it for later. But I want you guys to allocate your IP and see if the auction house has any decent gear that might benefit you. Once you're done, get some rest. We're going full sprint the moment we land, the Jonin ordered. Each member of Team 8 had done as they were instructed when it came to allocating their points and seeing if there was any decent gear they could get from the auction house. Ino had bought and now wore what was known as the Toyamano no Koromo, robe of the Sylph, a rare rank piece clothing that enhanced her speed and left her virtually broke. The robe being a form of combat attire that was essentially reminiscent of a revealing purple kimono. The attire didn't leave much to the imagination, and would likely turn more than a few heads when people saw it. It wasn't exactly the most defense-related armor either, meant more so for enhancing speed, evasion, and allure of the individual who wore it, which essentially complemented her fighting style, and the approach Anko was teaching her to take on. Hinata, unlike Naruto and Ino, didn't have a set of weapons of her own, though Naruto knew that Anko had recommended the Hyuga to learn how to use a tonfa, or sai, and incorporate them into her fighting style, based on what she learned from Gei. Something the eccentric taijutsu master of Konoha had apparently brought up to Hinata's cousin, Neji, but the Hyuga prodigy stuck to the traditional form of his clan's taija. But given she had trouble with her current fighting style, Anko decided it was best she at least get it up to the journeyman level before doing so. So Hinata instead bought the Aramiko no Ninju, Rosary of the Wandering Miko. It was a simple-looking necklace that consisted of prayer beads and white magatama. To many it would be seen as worthless and nothing more than cheap jewelry. Though plain in appearance, it offered a good deal of perks, such as enhancing the effects of medical ninjutsu, resistance to poisons, and enhancing chakra control. But the most useful perk were the ability to erect ninjutsu barriers and erase her presence, if only for a short period of time before she had to wait to use the abilities again. Much like Ino's purchase, the item was a pricey little thing that ate up most of her Ryo, but Hinata felt it was worth it. Naruto had looked at some of the gear and ninjutsu the store possessed, but given the auction house was still ranked as bronze, he couldn't buy anything that was ranked above rare, and most of the skills offered were ones he could use, learn elsewhere, or didn't fit his combat style. There was one particular item that caught his eye, and while pricey to the point it took about 2/3 of his money, Naruto felt it was well worth the investment. But for gear and skills there was nothing really worth getting. So now he saved his remaining money and focused on their task at hand. True to their Jonin instructor's word, the moment Team 8 made landfall did they start going full sprint, And truer still was the fact that it took them nearly a day before they reached decent terrain that didn't impede their full movement. But by then, it had been late in the evening, so the group set up tents in a secured location. When they were done, they lightly ate and then rested for the night. The use of a couple hidden shadow clones and minor snake summons as a night watch helped them immensely. Anko originally wanted them to take shifts, but knew all of them needed a full night's rest if they were to make it to Nami at a decent time the next day. Anko also didn't want Ino and Hinata to rely on Naruto's shadow clone technique for this sort of thing, as they needed the experience. The Jinchuriki wouldn't always be there for them, and both Kunoichi would have to do this on their own in the future. The following morning, the group woke up bright and early, much to Ino's consternation. The Yamanaka wasn't vocal, having learned by now what Anko did to whiners, but her facial expression said it all. It was almost noon before they came across a large stretch of open water that separated them from their goal. But Team 7 were nowhere in sight. Just before they began crossing the other side, Team 8 saw a boat coming their way, and after making certain he was a civilian, did they make themselves known the man. The ferryman jumped as they approached him, but calmed down pretty quickly. "You with those other ninja?" the ferryman asked after noticing the symbols on their forehead protectors. "Describe them," Anko ordered, not taking chances. Two boys. One had a dog and the other had dark hair. A girl with pink hair and a tall man with a silver hair with one of his eyes covered. The man described the group to a T. "Shit! We just missed them. Move it," Anko ordered. "Wait! There are patrols!" The group heard him call out, but they continued running. "Hinata?" Anko didn't have to tell her twice. "Kekai." Urukibitoa, barrier, wandering spirit veil. From her neck did Hinata's unassuming necklace shine and then shimmer before the 5 members of Team 8 became one with the mist that surrounded them. No sounds were heard except the splashing of water that surrounded them, and any sound they did make as they crossed on the water was blocked off by the technique that covered them. The skill from the accessory proved useful to the group as they made it to the other side with little trouble. Any patrol they encountered could be looking right at them, but all they'd see was the surrounding environment and the fog. Anko assessed that while Gato had the money for it, the man appeared to have a preference for hiring those with brawn over brains. Any further musings? Anko might have had blinked out of existence, much like the barrier that once hid them. The hell? Ino looked at her fellow Kunoichi. The barrier just stopped working. Hinata tried bringing it up once more, but each attempt failed. Activating her Byakugan, Hinata found out why. Anko-sensei, this mist has chakra in it. It certainly explained why Hinata's necklace conked out. The technique only worked to cloak them to the world when used in a natural environment. At its core, the hiding in mist wasn't a natural weather-based occurrence. Shit! The Kirigakure no Jutsu, hiding in the mist technique. Anko had a feeling the mist was unnatural. Eyes open, stay sharp, and suppress your chakra as much as possible. There's no telling who or what we're gonna encounter. The woman spoke in a hushed tone, and her team didn't need to be told twice. With Ino and Hinata, the act was easy, especially given Hinata's necklace, another neat feature it possessed. Even Hadamaru knew instinctively how to erase or minimize his chakra and presence. For Naruto, not as much given the large amount the blonde easily outmatched all of theirs combined. Even when suppressed, the boy still gave off a decent amount of chakra. Though in this case the chakra he gave off was more like a flashlight in the dark than a roaring bonfire. Anko just hoped luck was on their side and whoever was using this was distracted enough. As they moved further into the mist, they noticed it had become even thicker. However, through the use of her Byakugan, with some strain from the stinging her eyes felt, Hinata managed to locate an area where it was less prominent. As luck would have it, the area not only offered more visibility, but also better coverage with the trees. The large oaks, assuming that's what they were, offered them a better vantage point to survey the area. But it begged the question. Where's it coming from? Ino wondered. The answer to her question made itself known as the group heard the sound of steel clashing against steel. The sound was close, and within half a minute was Team 8, able to pinpoint the location. There was just one major problem, and it presented itself when the mist cleared. Oh, fan-fucking-tastic. Anko cursed as she spotted a trapped Kakashi and the one beside him. Naruto himself chanced a look at the man with his observe, and didn't like what he and his team saw. Status window. Name: Momochi, Zabuza, Elite. Job: Nuke Nin. Skill rank: Level: HP, CP. Stir: Vit, It. End. Dex: Int, Eind. Wis: Da, Ein. Look. Description: Momochi Zabuza, aka the Demon of the Bloody Mist, is an infamous A-rank Nuke Nin of Kirigakure, no Sato with a bloody history and reputation. At the tender age of 9, he was said to have slaughtered well over 100 academy students for reasons yet unknown. From then on, he would go to prove his worth as he was said to have slaughtered well over 100 academy students for reasons yet unknown. From then on, he would go to prove his worth as a Kiri shinobi by becoming the wielder of the Kubikiri Bocho, decapitating carving knife, and become one of the elite 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist before a failed coup forced him to abandon his village. As if the description ain't bad enough, this guy's got the fucking elite tag on him. Naruto was worried for good reason. Elite tags were a special kind mark that symbolized the target many times more powerful than those with the same level, some even more power than bosses. In video games where as a normal creature of a certain breed might fall easily to a lone player, to defeat an elite creature of the same type required careful planning. A group of heroes, excellent tactics, or all three. So far, they had been lucky for not running into one. Luck decided to take a vacation, it seemed. This wasn't going to be easy. A head-on fight wasn't the answer, unless the wanted a thrashing and a not-so-pretty death. Each genin knew all but Anko would be toast if they attempted such a stunt without the element of surprise, and even then it was clear that this guy was stronger than Anko. They'd have to do this strategically and quickly, if the series of clones that the man created were an indicator. So what do we do? Naruto asked Anko.
That's simple, improvise and think on the spot. Anko informed them as she made her move. Her genin were stunned but not surprised by the act. It was very Anko-like and they didn't really have time to come up with a plan while Team 7 was moments away from being killed.
Well, you heard her. Naruto informed his team, and along with Hadamaru, he followed after his teacher. Oh, we're all gonna die. Ino slumped before she and Hinata followed in pursuit. At least they'd go out fighting. As the Mizu Bunshin rushed at the genin of Team 7, Zabuza blinked as his creations were soon reduced to mere useless puddles of water. The hell! The man exclaimed and was forced to block a pair of kunai coming from a woman. The former Kiri ninja made to swipe at her, but the woman leaped over the blade and managed to land a kick on his chest. It wasn't enough to send the man flying, but it had enough force in it to release his hold on his Suiro, water prison. Shit, the man growled and held his sword in a more aggressive manner. Anko knew she'd have to be extra careful now. Even with Kakashi freed, a single slip-up would end her. I thought I felt some rats skulking about. The man had originally thought it to be his imagination, and now he was regretting it. The missing ninja watched as the woman covered Kakashi as he got out of the water. Zabuza needed to end at least one of them quickly and rushed at the woman. However, Zabuza was stunned as a myriad of serpents were unleashed from her sleeves and bared their fangs at him. Creating some more clones, Zabuza substituted himself with one of them and watched as the serpent bit at their necks and thighs. The original Zabuza swung his blade and ended the serpent's lives in the process. Using his momentum, The swordsman struck Anko with the flat of the blade and launched her at high speeds. And with Kakashi behind her, the man was sent along for the ride. Zabuza made to move towards the old man, but was stunned as two more genin appeared beside the other three. From their appearance, Zabuza guessed one of them was a Hyuga, if the eyes were to go by. The other he couldn't tell, but knew it was a Kunoichi. However, it was then that Zabuza's problems began. Just as they joined them, did a fold barrier erect itself around the group of genin Nankin and the old man. "Barrier ninjutsu!" The man was snarling at the moment. He doubted the barrier was strong enough to stop him, but had an inkling it was meant to buy themselves time. Barrier ninjutsu were only as strong as the user, and these were mere genin. Death blow, Naruto mentally announced as he swiftly brought down Shichizo Gauge on the man's exposed back. Death blow was successful. Naruto grinned at the announcement, but his victory was short-lived when the target turned out to be a mere water doppelganger, leaving him with no time to do anything before the real Zabuza rose up from behind him and grabbed hold. "Not bad, kid, you got balls. But you're 100 years too early to be messing with one of the 7 swordsmen." The man released a chuckle and then placed his weapon at the boy's throat. The man had sensed Naruto from a mile away and had decided to use a different strategy when reinforcements showed up. With the young swordsman subdued, Zabuza looked at the 2 jonin in front of him. More so the woman in this case. "Arms where I can see 'em, snake bitch," Zabuza ordered Anko. The woman scowling at the name but obliged to the demand. "Gotta say, I didn't expect to see the snake mistress of Konoha. To think you of all people would take a bunch of brats as pupils. Funny how stuff like that turns out," he chuckled. "Yeah, real freaking hilarious," Anko deadpan. "But playtime's over. As much as I'd like to continue fighting, I got important business to take care of. So, tell your kiddies to drop the barrier, hand over the old man, and the kid goes free. Try anything funny and you'll see firsthand why decapitating is a part of Kubikira Bokusho's name." The man proved his point by bringing the blade closer to Naruto's neck. Though frightened, Tazuna looked ready to step in. The man knew these were ninja, but the thought of a child dying for him didn't sit right. However, Tazuna was stopped in his tracks by Anko before he could surrender himself. "Sorry, but I can't do that. The Gaki knew what he was getting into when he became a ninja." Though momentarily stunned, for he wasn't expecting something like this from a Konoha shinobi, Zabuza smirked nonetheless. "Ruthless. But given who trained you, and I should have seen it coming. Sorry, kid, but looks like you're gonna lose your head." "Business is business," Zabuza grinned before looking at Anko. "Any last words?" "Just one, Midori," Anko suddenly shouted at the top of her lungs. Boom! Just as soon as the word left her mouth did the captive Naruto disappear into a wisp of smoke. "What? A clone?" That was the least of his problems as an enormous, hissing, and angry Midori burst forth from the ground below the missing nin. Zabuza barely had time to react as the giant reptile made to swallow him or rip him to shreds with its razor-sharp and dagger-filled maw. Zabuza swung his giant sword hoping to hit a weak point, but Midori's reflexes allowed her to dodge quickly. Though her snout was nicked in the process, a summoned creature's hide was much stronger than a regular serpent. Though if he used his full might, Midori knew the man could pierce her tough skin with only slight difficulties, given the properties of the blade. Zabuza wasn't as physically strong as the idiot brothers, but he was strong enough to wield the famous blade to pose a threat to a summon of Midori's size. "Play nice with your new chew toy," Anko laughed as Zabuza snarled behind his bandaged face. Behind Anko, Zabuza watched as the barrier dropped, and the man scowled, as saw the original sword-wielding genin. "Little shit must have hidden himself with a henge," was the conclusion he came up with. As the genin flipped him the bird, the man made to move before Midori lunged at him. Zabuza's plans were put on hold, and he was forced to dodge from the deadly serpent's strikes. Even then, the man didn't escape unharmed as he was nicked by one of the creature's fangs. The man realized he had been played like a chump. At the moment, there were only two options available for him: fight and get killed, or flee and fight another day. With the added protection of another team, plus a large summon, Zabuza didn't have to be a genius to know his chances of completing the mission were very low. For now anyway, while his mastery over the Kirigakure no Justu would mask his chakra signature, his scent and body heat weren't. Fuck! Zabuza cursed and used a Kiri Shunshin, mist body flicker, to escape the area. As he appeared at a location far away, the man scowled and kept on running until he knew he was at a safe distance. The man never liked retreating from a fight, but he knew Mei would kill him if he died. After finding a way to bring him back to life, of course. Strong as he was, Terumi Mei was a hell of a lot stronger than he was, despite not being a swordsman. Zabuza disliked working for guys like Gato, but business was business. If he had to kill someone, then so be it. The resistance of Kiri desperately needed the funds for their goal, and Zabuza was a part of it. Being from the generation of swordsmen that many considered to be the strongest generation, the man had arrogantly thought himself capable of leading a small group to overthrow Yagura, before the man brought Kiri to ruin. The resistance had tried to convince him to work with him, but Zabuza and his group believed they'd be enough. They weren't. Yagura had faced the group by himself and utterly crushed them with ease. The coup's defeat had been an eye-opener, and Zabuza took it as a lesson. Strong and fearsome as he was, the man realized there would always be someone much stronger than him. Zabuza had never faced a Jinchuriki before, but the man knew that having a Byu sealed within oneself granted them a large amount of chakra and power most didn't possess. Even after hearing stories about such battles, the man hadn't thought much of it, believing them to be exaggerations from weaklings and poor excuses of ninja. All that soon changed. After facing off against someone who not only had that kind of power, but also had total control over it, made him realize just how immense the power gap between him and Yagura was. Even after so long in various missions he took from others and fighting for the resistance, the man knew his strength still wasn't enough to face Yagura head-on. The only person who had a chance was Mei herself. Even then, she admitted, would need some help doing it. Zabuza-sama. The man didn't bother to turn his head, having sensed his ward's presence a mile away. Zabuza-sama. What do we do now? We lay low for now, Haku, loathed as he wanted to admit it, but at the moment they were outmatched and outgunned. Where's Maizu and Gozu? At the hideout. They're tending to their injuries and making sure that Gato doesn't start snooping around while we're gone, the dragon-masked ninja said. According to the two brothers, Hatake Kakashi had roughened them up enough so when he bound them to a tree they wouldn't have the strength to escape. Had Haku not tailed them to oversee the proceedings, they'd be in the hands of Konoha Anbu. Haku liked Gozu and Maizu, but the ninja sometimes wondered if those two were missing a few brain cells. If they weren't shinobi or had minimum to no encounter with ninja, their stunt would have been somewhat justifiable. But this was Hatake Kakashi of all people. Haku had never met the ninja, but had heard rumors and stories of those who survived encounters with him. The man was easily one of the most well-known and recognizable ninja in the elemental countries. Certainly the demon brothers loved picking a fight, but for them to think they'd have a chance against Sharingan no Kakashi was mind-boggling. It was dumb stunts like that made Haku wonder what exactly did those two actually contribute to all of this. If anything, they were loyal and worked very well together. But that was pretty much it. It shouldn't take them more than a few days before they are back to full strength. Zabuza-sama? Good. We'll wait till nightfall before heading back. Zabuza wasn't going to risk the hideout's location. The man would have to eliminate his scent before they headed back. Having worked with the Hunter Nin squad when he was a part of Kiri, the man knew of several ways to do so. He was beating himself up for not doing so now, as it might have gone differently. Though as snakes could see via heat signatures, something his technique couldn't hide, and with a Hyuga on their side it was easier said than done. As he began to formulate plans, Zabuza's body began to spasm, and he buckled under his own weight. The man fell off the branch of the tree and would have hit the ground with a resounding thud had Haku not caught him. "Zabuza-sama, what's wrong?" a frantic Haku asked. By now Zabuza's body began to shake and shiver, and his breathing was beginning to become rapid. Working quickly, Haku gave the man a look over before the cause of the problem was found. On the man's arm was a cut, and said wound had a purple and putrid look along with small bubbles of yellowish pus-like liquid. The odor that it was giving off was foul. Poison, Haku deduced that it came from the large serpent. The nick Haku had seen was most likely the cause. To think such a small amount would do all this. It had to be very powerful for such a small amount to cause all this. Taking out a set of tools, Haku went to work as quickly and as carefully as possible. Getting a needle, Haku began by injecting the man with some antibodies to slow the poison down. Already the man's shake went down some, but Haku recognized they weren't out of the woods yet. The next thing that needed to be done was getting Zabuza's heartbeat down as low as possible. Taking out 2 senbon needles, Haku then accurately placed them on the side of Zabuza's neck. Within seconds, Zabuza's body went limp as a fish. Though Haku wished to avoid putting him in a death-like state, it was the only way to help impede the poison. Most poisons were known to spread throughout the body at a faster rate. The higher one's heart rate was. This method would allow the ninja time to come up with a cure. Though Haku had experience in concocting antidotes for various poisonous creatures, coming up with one for a summon wasn't. This wasn't going to be easy and would take all the skill Haku had to come up with an antidote. While Haku was knowledgeable on a large amount of herbs and knew a bit on medicine, the ninja couldn't be classified as a medic. Did the ninja have the reserves and chakra control required? Yes. The young ninja had the intelligence also to do well in the field. The only thing that was lacking was knowledge and know-how. Though part of the resistance, both Zabuza and the feminine-looking ninja only ever met with messengers that Terumi Mei sent. As such, Haku's medical skills were mostly self-taught. Never once did the ninja have the opportunity to learn medical ninjutsu from someone else. As they were always on the move and doing a job, Haku didn't exactly have a chance to learn some of the more complex techniques. Every time Haku needed to heal either the demon brothers or Zabuza, it was done the old-fashioned way. This event was going to put all those skills to the test. Sometime later, "Fala!" a woman, easily in her early 30s, shouted at as the group of 10 neared a house near the riverside. Kazuna eagerly greeted his daughter with a hug before introducing her to his escort. "Tsunami, these are the super ninja that helped me reach Nami. Everyone, this is my daughter, Tsunami," he introduced. Seriously, what's with this guy and the word super? Ino lost track of how many times he used the damn word, and wondered if the man didn't have an extended vocabulary. "Thank you, all of you," Tsunami bowed, but her look turned into one of confusion as she eyed the group. "There's so many of you. I thought we only had enough for a C-rank mission." "You did, but Hokage-sama sent us as backup," Anko spoke up. "Speaking of which, why were you and your team sent, Anko?" Kakashi asked. He wasn't ungrateful, but the man had hoped for more than a rookie jonin and a team of genin. If anything, having more genin meant even more worry. "We were the closest team available, and with the Chunin exams coming up and all Konoha is stretched thin at the moment, Hokage-sama had no choice but to send us, so we weren't exactly in a position to say no," the woman informed him before a sheepish look crossed her face. "Not to be rude, but you mind if we take this someplace a little warmer? My legs are starting to go numb." Ino herself silently agreed with her team leader. As part of her seduction lessons, Ino knew that showing more skin helped enhance one's approach. The only problem was that it also didn't offer much protection against the elements such as cold weather. Plus, with the water splashing on them as they crossed over open water didn't help. Of course, Tsunami ushered them inside her house, and one by one did they enter her humble abode. "I'm afraid we have limited sleeping arrangements. We have 2 guest rooms that can be shared, though it may end up being a little snug in the process." Some of you will have to sleep on the couch or floor, I'm afraid, she apologized. Had it only been one team, it wouldn't have been bad. Tsunami also wondered what they were going to do for food as well. Meh, it's no big deal. Anko waved the woman's worry off. Ninja are meant to endure this kind of stuff. This is nothing compared to where we usually have to sleep. Just ask Kakashi. He used to be in the Ambu. Ambu, Tsunami was unfamiliar with the term. Basically the elite of the elite ninja of a ninja village. They do stuff even reputed and strong ninja just can't handle, and Hatake here was a captain at one point, the woman elaborated. Not like it was a secret. Kakashi didn't exactly use his Ambu mask half the time, so his time as an Ambu member was quite known. Oh, Tsunami was still confused, but the explanation made sense. Speaking of which, you've gotten sloppy, Hatake, Anko noted the tired man's form. Ma, I'll be fine. The man smiled behind his face mask, but Anko wasn't fooled. Kakashi was more experienced than her and he kept a straight face, but the paleness in his face along with the beads of sweat told her otherwise. Hinata Baikugan on Kakashi, the woman ordered her student. The young Kunoichi complied with her teacher's command and was unnerved by what she saw. Kakashi-sensei, your chakra reserves are nearly empty. You're suffering from severe chakra exhaustion. Her statement caused Anko to curse. Kakashi wasn't teammate benefiting off Naruto's gamer perk, so this wasn't a simple case of him sleeping it off and getting better after a single night. Chakra exhaustion came in 3 stages: minor, severe, and intense. Minor cases usually took 2 to 3 days to get over. Severe cases were 4 to 6 days of recovering, sometimes extra as it wasn't good for one's health. Intense cases could take over a week or so before they were ready for action. Even then, it took a person a few extra days before they could even move properly. Seriously, I'm fine. The man couldn't finish his sentence as he fell to one knee. Anko instantly appeared beside him and swung his arm over her shoulder. You're dead tired, Hatake. You're lucky we got there when we did. Hinata, you're with me. Old man, where are the spare rooms? Anko barked out at Tazuna. The bridge builder was momentarily stunned by the shout before he directed all 3 up the stairs. The 2 teams had to wait for a solid 5 minutes before Anko made her way back down. Is Kakashi-sensei going to be okay? A worried Sakura asked. He'll be fine. Hinata's looking after him. A bit of bed rest, some occasional healing, and taking it easy? And he'll be right as rain in 5 days or so, Anko reassured the pink cat. Kinda sad though, really. A few years ago when he was in the Ambu, I doubt this sort of thing would have even fazed him. Hatake's gotten out of shape ever since he left. Is he really that strong? Sasuke asked, more so out of curiosity. The Uchiha's opinion of the man wasn't all that great considering he barely taught them anything. But the way the man fought against Zabuza made him realize that he was more than he originally assessed. The guy made Chunin at age 6, Jonin at age 12, and then at 13 he was inducted into the Ambu. A few years later he was promoted to Ambu captain and his repertoire of techniques was only outmatched by the Sandaime Hokage himself. There's only one other person I know that has that kind of performance record, if not greater. Who's that? Naruto asked. Uchiha Itachi, Sasuke's older brother, and easily one of the best ninja Konoha had before he stabbed Konoha in the back. Anko said, not noticing the dark look that crossed Sasuke's face as she said it. Stabbed in the... Oh? Yeah, oh, Anko agreed. Anyway, the point is that it's sad when someone like Kakashi lets their skills go to waste. Heard that he's easily a candidate for 5th Hokage. All the Genin, including Sasuke, Sakura, and Kiba, were stunned. Are we still talking about our sensei? Sakura hesitantly asked. Unless there's another Hatake Kakashi with an implanted Sharingan in his eye socket then. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Anko didn't like where this was going. Seriously? That lazy ass? Mr. I got lost on the road of life. That guy, an incredulous Kiba asked. I call bullshit. Arf. Akamaru agreed with his partner, and while Kiba's teammates were less vocal, both couldn't help but agree with the feral-looking boy. Yeah, but he still taught ya. As she gauged their looks, Anko hesitantly asked, "Every fiber in my body is saying, don't ask. But what has he taught you guys?" As Hinata's hands glowed a light green color, the Hyuga watched as the paleness from Kakashi's face began to recede little by little. "I'll kill him." Anko's thunderous voice rocked the house, and Hinata watched in fascination and worry as Kakashi's face began to revert back to its former paleness. "Well, I'm feeling better, goodbye," Kakashi quickly said, and proceeded to jump through the window, and then made a mad dash for the woods. Not out the window, through the window. "Pussy, take your beating like a man." It wasn't a moment later that Hinata spotted her teacher chasing after the man, a string of curses and kunai being thrown at him as she gave chase. The Hyuga watched as trees fell to the ground and a series of lights light up the wood as a result of explosions. As the forest began to turn into a war zone, Hinata slowly drew the curtains and left the room. Better Hate Kakashi than any member of Team 8. The next morning, when Anko had finally managed to get a hold of Kakashi, the man lasting longer than they thought he would given his state, Anko had let the man have it. What the words were exactly the genin didn't know, but guessed it hadn't been pleasant. The amount of slapping she gave him hadn't been pleasant either. When the man was taken back to bed despite her wanting to leave his tired ass in the woods, Anko had set up the sleeping arrangements. As this was officially Team 7's mission, they would be the ones sleeping in the house. Team 8 had their own mission coinciding with theirs, and would be roughing it outside in sleeping bags and a tent. Ino would have complained as they had a comfortable house available to sleep in, but her time with Anko made her know better. Anko hated when someone began to bitch and moan over something she would consider trivial. "So, how'd everyone sleep?" "A perky," Anko asked the two teams. The woman had half expected moans or groans from her team, considering this was only their second time sleeping outdoors. Anko was used to it and didn't notice the discomfort anymore. Her genin wasn't but guessed the gamer's ability took away such discomfort. So much for making fun. Anko slumped a bit but perked right back up. "Was fine, but Ino snores," Naruto informed the group. The blonde took a piece of toast as well as what little rice there was to munch on. "I do not." The kunoichi glared at her fellow blonde. "We slept in the same tent, Ino, and I know snoring when I hear it," Naruto countered. "Arf," Hadamaru agreed with his partner. The young ninkin had been in the same tent, and had not cared for the blonde's snoring either. "I don't snore," the girl stated more forcefully, "and you're one to talk. You speak in your sleep." "What?" "You heard me. For an entire hour all I could hear was you mumbling about Ram and your ramen girls." By now, Ino was flushed red. Whether it was because of how embarrassing it had been, or because she was angry no one knew. "Wait, you two slept in the same tent?" Kiba asked, a look of utter disbelief on his face, while his kunoichi teammate was just as shocked. Though he looked indifferent, even Sasuke was mildly surprised by the revelation. "Is that normal?" Tazuna asked the leader of Team 7. As this was his first time actually dealing with ninja, the man didn't how they worked exactly. What was odd for him could be common for someone in their line of work. For genin, not so much, but it's not uncommon either. It's basically to get them used to this kind of thing when they get older. Ninja sometimes have to get physically close to a target at times, and this helps ease them into it, Kakashi explained to the client. "Oh, that reminds me. You're sleeping with pale eyes tonight, Deki." Anko smirked at the blonde. The reactions varied from each individual. Hinata, Sakura, and Tsunami blushed, the Hyuga nearing supernova, while Kiba and Tazuna and Naruto, to a small extent, had a perverted look on their faces. The only ones who looked indifferent were Sasuke and Kakashi, though the latter was more focused on his book than anything. Even then, a small smirk was hidden behind the book cover. "So what do we do now?" Kiba asked. We brought the old man to Nami, that's mission accomplished, right? Wrong, Anko and Kakashi answered simultaneously. Your mission is to stay here and bodyguard Tazuna until the bridge is complete. I'm no expert, but from what I saw, it's gonna take a while. Plus, Zabuza's still out there. And if the info the bingo book has on him is accurate, then I doubt you'll be seeing the last of him. Tazuna paled considerably as he heard this. The team had barely managed to escape from the man with their lives. Had it not been for Team 7's timely arrival, then Tazuna hated to think what could have happened. It's a good thing we have another team then, huh? Tazuna chuckled. In the end, this whole thing worked out better. Wham! The bridge builder had no time to react as he felt the fist impact with his face and send him sprawling across the room. Before he could even right himself, the man was lifted into the air by an angry Kunoichi. Let's get one thing straight, old man. You lied to Konoha, and as a result, you nearly got a team killed in the process. Technically speaking, the contract between Nami and Konoha is null and void because of that stunt. Believe it or not, we actually have the right to haul your ass back and have you imprisoned. Or did you not know that when you signed the paperwork? She snarled at the paling man. A worried Tsunami looked ready to step in and defend her father, but was stopped by Kakashi. Even while weakened, the man's look was enough to stop her from interfering. Truthfully, Tazuna hadn't really gone over the contract or the fine print of it all. All the man had cared about was getting a team to Nami and help them as quickly as possible. Though he hadn't expected getting a bunch of kids, the man took what he could get. The sooner they got back and the sooner the bridge was completed, the better. You don't understand, the elderly man began, but a look from Anko told him to wisely keep his mouth shut. No, I understand, old man, Anko snarled, and was about to continue, but a hand on her shoulder stopped her. That's enough, Anko. I think he gets it. The man gave her a look. Though still angry, both at Kakashi and Tazuna, Anko unceremoniously dropped the bridge builder. Sighing at the act, but making no move to pick him up, Kakashi gave Tazuna a pointed look. Anko's right. Though, Tazuna, despite the fact we decided to continue with this mission, you still lied to us and put my genin in danger. We got lucky that none of them were killed when Zabuza showed up. Chances are it probably would have happened had Team 8 not showed up. Had I even the slightest idea that Zabuza was going to be involved, there's no way I would have continued. A friend of mine once said those who break the rules are trash, but those who betray others are worse than trash. In this case, you'd be considered worse than trash, Tazuna, Kakashi told the elderly man. The members of Team 7 stayed silent as this was occurring. What Kakashi had said was a paraphrased version of the original. But Tazuna didn't need to know that. Anyway, I know why you did it, but don't assume this ended up for the better. What do you mean? Tazuna asked. We'll start with number 1. This is clearly an A-rank mission, and ninja don't work for charity. A C-rank pay barely covers what it's gonna cost you in the end. You're gonna have to come up with what you owe use when it's over. The look she gave him left no room to argue. Though seeing as how Gato's basically taken everything you get, we're willing to work something out, she added, and Tazuna was grateful. Next is that we have 6 gen in here, and any one of them can be killed or taken hostage before they even realize it. That's Zabuza's speciality, and the bastard can easily use it as leverage against us. The only upside is that Midori managed to poison him. Her poison is nasty as hell. He didn't get a full dose, but chances of him dying are still great. But on the off chance he survives, it'll take him a while to recover. At most, we have 6 to 8 days before he's back on his feet. Why didn't the snake finish him off? Could have saved us the trouble, Kiba grumbled before he was bonked on the head. Ow! Because she can't stay in that form for too long, and it takes a lot out of her. There's also the fact that we didn't know who else was out there, so we needed her close by. We heard about the Demon Brothers, and I doubt they're the only ones working for him, Anko explained. And the declaration made Sakura, Tsunami, and Tazuna pale, while Ino and Hinata were worried. Though none of them showed it, all 3 male genin were just as concerned too. Well, we don't have to worry about Gozu and Maizu at least, Kakashi's informed the group. Anko, however, was the only one who knew that it was meant to put them at ease. With the information she told, the veteran ninja suspected that perhaps it wasn't the case. However, Kakashi thought it was best to lie than for them to worry for the time being. In the meantime, we're going to have to train you all so you're prepared. Speak for yourself, Hate. My team's already been on a few C-rank missions dealing with chakra mutations, so they have combat experience. Our mission to Yuzukamura was our first C-rank mission outside Konoha, she informed the now surprised man and stunned Team 7. They've been on C-rank missions already, Sasuke fumed at the knowledge. His team had only been on this one, and technically he knew it was now a B or a rank mission. It would test his skills, but Team 8's as well. At this rate, he wasn't going to be anywhere near to achieving his goals. Bullshit! Kiba shouted. No way you guys have done more than 1 C-rank mission already. He would have believed 1 or 2, but 6 was too much. What makes you guys more special? Well, the fact we actually accomplished the required amount of D-rank missions needed to qualify for a C-rank for 1. Plus, one of our first C-rank missions more or less turned into a B-rank one, and Hokage-sama was impressed with how we handled it. Ever since he would give us the odd C-rank mission that required dealing with chakra mutations, Ino explained. Chakra mutations? Tsunami asked, having heard the name more than once. Creatures that have been changed in some way or another. Surprisingly, it was Kiba who answered. What? My clans had a history dealing with them since the Warring States, he elaborated. From her relationship with Kiba's mother, Anko knew he spoke truthfully on the matter. That aside, we qualified and did a good job on our first C rank. So we got the green light to do more. How many missions have you guys done? 3 of the members of Team 7 looked abashed, while the other merely frowned and looked away. The other was engrossed in his book. Well, how many? Sakura mumbled. Speak up, billboard brow, Ino told her rival. The pinkette glared at the blonde before she answered. 15? Are you fucking kidding me? Anko's face shadowed over, and her genin knew to take cover. 15 missions is all you guys took in almost 2.5 months. By now, the woman's temper was showing, and Sakura looked frightened. Kiba and Akamaru were both hiding behind a chair while Sasuke felt like doing the same thing. Take a word now. The woman wasn't asking, and she proceeded to drag the man up the stairs, entered a room, and closed the door with a resounding slam. You guys are probably not gonna see him again, Naruto informed them. Anko hates slacking. All 4 members of the veteran Kunoichi's team shuddered lightly. Sometime later. Okay, this seems like a good a spot as any. Anko halted the group. Surrounding them were many tall trees that were needed for what she had planned. The area wasn't too far away from Tazuna's home or the bridge either, on the off chance they needed to rush to his aid. As a precaution, the woman had left Hinata, Ino, and Harumaru with the man. It wasn't their mission to look after the bridge builder, but circumstances being what they were required it. Alright, seeing as how Kakashi's out of commission for the time being, I guess I'll be in charge of you brats. The look she gave them made the members of Team 7 worry. Kiba and Akamaru more so due to their first-hand experience with the eccentric Jonin. And seeing as how you weren't taught all that much, we've got no choice but to begin with the basics. To start, I'm gonna be having you 3 climb trees. Climb trees? Sakura deadpanned, and her inner self thought, how the hell is climbing trees gonna help us? Shah! Yes, climb trees? Using only your feet. She finished and proceeded to demonstrate the act by casually walking up a large erect trunk of wood. The woman did this for less than a minute before she finally stopped near the very top. And that's how it's done. You gotta concentrate just the right amount of chakra on the soles of your feet to make yourself stick. Too much and you're blown off, too little and you'll fall on your ass. Use these to mark your progress, the the woman concluded by throwing each of them a kunai. Well, hop to it. I want to see you at least make it 20 feet before the day's over. One by one, the genin of Team 7 grabbed a kunai and picked their respective tree. Naruto watched as Kiba, ever eager, proceeded by running towards his target. Naruto had half expected the boy to make it one step before he was pushed off, but was slightly surprised that the Inuzuka managed to make it 7 steps before he was forced down. Naruto guessed that since he came from a ninja clan, he would be more knowledgeable on such things. Sasuke himself had made a decent 8 steps before he was forced off his tree. "This is easy," a voice from high up called out, and all 3 males looked up to see Sakura at the outmost top branch of the tree. Kiba groaned, as he knew she'd hold this over him, and Sakura merely frowned. Anko, however, merely assessed the situation. "Gaki, what's their status?" Naruto merely used observe, and neither were impressed by the results. Status window. Name: Haruno Sakura. Job: Genin, 15% XP gain and 15 IP per year. Skill rank: DD. Level: 1459%, 100% to next level. HP: 400. CP: 425. Star: 14. Vit: 16. End: 17. Dex: 24. Int: 83. Wis: 44. Cha: 15. Look: 17. Status window. Name: Inuzuka Kiba. Job: Genin, 15% XP gain and 15 IP per year. Skill rank: DD. Level: 1677%, 100% to next level. HP: 850. CP: 975. Star yarn: 36. Vit: 34. End: 39. Dex: 49. Int: 22. Wis: 18. Luck: 31. Status window. Name: Uchiha Sasuke Kiba. Job: Genin, 15% XP gain and 15 IP per year. Skill rank: DD. Level: 20 I3%, 100% to next level. HP: 950. CP: 1150. Star: 33. Vit: 38. End: 46. Dex: 44. Int: 39. Wis: 29. Luke: 25. Sasuke's level was decent if Anko wanted to be kind, but even then it had only been a recent level up, and likely due to the gamer perk, most of his attributes were significantly lower than Ino and Hinata's, though his end was higher than either of his Team 7 teammates. Anko analyzed each genin of Team 7. They had a particular attribute that was higher than the rest. For Kiba, it was his dex, and to a certain extent his star as well, which made sense given his clan's lineage. For Sasuke, it was his dex and end. Given the Uchiha clan's history of being placed second in the top 10 strongest clans in the world, and the way he pushed himself, it was no surprise. For Sakura, her most outstanding attribute was her int, which was more or less equal to Hinata's at the moment despite the level gap, a perk or title most likely. If Sakura were at Sasuke's level, Anko guessed Sakura's int would be much greater than Hinata's by a minimum of 30 points. Unfortunately, it was all she had going for her at the moment. "Don't celebrate just yet, Pinky." Sakura scowled at the nickname, but otherwise stayed silent. "So, you think just because you got up there first means you're better than those two?" she asked. Sakura was not expecting the question and stumbled on her words. All right then, that tree's more or less 60 feet high. I want you to run up and down that thing 50 times in both directions, she smirked. All right, Sakura honestly thought it would have been a lot worse given how Ino spoke about her the other day. The kunoichi believed it to be a simple and easy task and proceeded to do exactly what Anko told her while her teammates got back to work. But not even 30 minutes later, and only being on her 29th climb up, an exhausted Sakura was now drenched in sweat. The girl wasn't even halfway up the tree, and every time she moved her legs she felt them burn and ache in protest. The girl only managed to make it up another 7 feet before she was forced to rest on a nearby branch. Kiba and Sasuke, however, were still going strong as they continued to make progress little by little. So you get it now? A voice behind her startled her from the unexpectedness of it all. Your chakra control is very impressive for someone your age. You'd make a damn good medic or genjutsu mistress. Sakura blushed at the praise. But you suck at everything else. The comment immediately made the blush disappear. Chakra control will only get you so far. What you did was only a little over half a kilometer. You're not much help to your team if you don't have any stamina, speed, or any other defining skill to back you up. Truthfully, you're lucky not to be dead at the moment, Sakura. As you are, you're nothing more than dead weight. Anko's chastising was harsh but truthful. The frown she had forced a near tear-stricken Sakura to look away. The look she received was almost like those she had sometimes received from her parents. It was a look of pure, unadulterated, utter disappointment. Catch your breath and then get back to work. Every time you fail to accomplish the task, you're to start over from square one. By the end of the week, I'd better see it done, was the woman's simple but sharp order. Sakura wanted to protest, but could only nod. However, by then, Anko was long gone and far away from the girl. Sakura had potential with her chakra control, but at the moment, Anko was disgusted. The girl had no right to call herself a kunoichi. Part of it was Kakashi's fault as well, but Sakura could have done her own form of training. Her conversation with the man revealed why he was late. Sorta. Ninja needed to be independent and learn how to teach themselves rather than rely solely on a master. Something Kakashi was trying to teach them, but none were getting it. If Sakura didn't show any decent improvement before Anko's team left, the woman would have no choice but to confront the Hokage about this. The most likely scenario would be having her replaced with another ninja from the reserves. Should that happen, Sakura would be temporarily stripped of her genin rank until she shaped up. A girl like her was more of a liability than an asset for her team. At best, she'd be killed or crippled. At worst, others would kidnap her and use her for self-pleasure. It happened to others in the past, both dedicated and lacking kunoichi. It was the same thing she told her two kunoichi if they didn't shape up or take it seriously. Kunoichi had it much worse than male ninja merely because they were born with different sexes. This is bullshit, she heard Kiba curse. The hooded genin was covered in dirt, and Anko knew he had fallen. Judging from the marks, he was making progress, but not as good compared to Sasu. Anko knew young Inuzuka males weren't known for their patience or level-headedness, especially when they viewed others as competition. Hey, how the hell's this gonna help us anyway? Dumbass move, Kiba. Though the Inuzuka knew better than to mouth off at Anko, the boy's frustration had unfortunately gotten the best of him, and Naruto had no doubt he was about to pay for it. First off, the woman suddenly appeared before him and slammed the Inuzuka into a tree. The action forced the air from his lungs, making his teammates look towards him, and causing Akamaru to be torn between wanting to help his partner and cowering before the obviously superior ninja. Don't think for 1 second you have the right to talk to me that way, genin, she harshly hissed, making Kiba feel fear. Soon a foreign and highly unpleasant feeling was washing over him as she held him. It was as if he was currently facing the Shinigami itself, and Kiba had nowhere to run or hide. The feeling soon left just as quickly, and Kiba realized that it had been the same feeling he felt when they were confronted with Zabuza. He wasn't the only one affected, as the Inuzuka noticed that Sasuke was shaking slightly. The fact he held his kunai a lot more tightly, his hands now white, was even more proof. Secondly, this exercise is to help you better control your chakra. Do that and you'll not only need to use less chakra in your techniques, but you'll struggle less when drawing out your chakra for techniques as well, she explained before looking to Sasuke. You got anything to ask? The Uchiha looked like he wanted to say something but merely shook his head. Spill it, Uchiha. I don't have all day? Not wanting to anger the woman like his idiot teammate, Sasuke complied. How come the dobe's not doing this? Oi! Naruto took offense to the insult. I ain't the dead last anymore. He is. Naruto scowled. You'll always be a dobe in my books, dobe. Sasuke smirked at the blonde ninja. As Naruto took a step forward, Anko interviewed. The dobe, as you call him, already mastered an even more complicated form of chakra control along with the rest of my team, Anko said, causing Sasuke's smirk to leave his face. Besides, making fun of him is my job. Love you too, sensei. Love you too. Naruto merely chalked it up as another reason to prank her ass hard. The boy had been formulating one for months, since the geisha one, and slowly things were coming together. But the prank formulating in his head was the last thing on his mind when the woman whirled around, hunched over, and whispered something into Naruto's ear. When she righted herself, the blonde's face began to form into a broad grin that threatened to split his head in two. Okay, maybe I'll bring it down a notch or two. Maybe. The blonde proceeded towards a nearby tree and decided to show his stuff. Ninpo. Kongariki, ninja art. Adamantine strength. He whispered and felt a surge of powerful strength course through him. When he was in position, the boy then proceeded to take out Shishizuage and covered with earth and stone, turning it into an oversized kanabo. It was a weapon that Sasuke scoffed at because of its barbaric nature. Naruto merely ignored him before he readied himself, the kanabo being positioned behind his head, while an aura of blue covering it as a result of the chakra flow being used. Sagasho, crushing fang impact. Naruto mentally used the upgraded version of Sageki, crushing strike, and then unleashed his technique with all his might. What happened would forever be ingrained in the minds of Team 7's Genin and Ninken. The moment the earthen club struck home did the wood crack and buckle under the incredible pressure of the blow. Nami no Kuni's trees, while decent in size, were nothing compared to the mighty oaks that surrounded Konoha's. Had he tried this stunt on such trees, it would not have worked on the first, second, or even 50th go. Even then, however, the act of bringing them down was slightly challenging for an experienced arborist or carpenter seeking wood for their craft. Naruto managed to fell this one with a single blow of his weapon. The large tree groaned and swayed before it finally came crashing down with a thunderous thud. The fall briefly shook the earth and sent nearby wildlife running. To a seasoned ninja like Anko, the act was only mildly impressive. Being able to take down trees wasn't that grand a feat in her mind, especially if requiring techniques to make it happen. Though she'd keep that little tidbit secret from Team 7. Being able to do it with pure muscle strength, and in one blow, while you were still only 13, was another matter altogether.
The blonde ninja let off a whistle as he watched his handiwork and then turned to the members of Team 7. Every single one of them was floored. Sakura looked as if she was about to fall out of the tree because of how shocked she was. Kiba's jaw was on the ground. Sasuke was visibly shaking and looked like he wanted to say something but couldn't get himself to complete a coherent sentence.
Still think he's a dobe now, Uchiha? Anko asked, but didn't get an answer. And this is nothing compared to what others can do. The information only served to further shock the genin of Team 7. Now back to work, maggots. She barked out, and all three of them continued with their exercise as best they could. But one thought simultaneously echoed in each of their minds. How the hell did he do that? It also made them wonder just how strong the other members of Team 8 were. Were they just as strong, or did they know something else? Either way, they had a lot of catching up to do. Elsewhere, Hidden within the many woods of Nami no Kuni, 4 ninja shared a large room that had been given by their employer. Scattered throughout the room were various scrolls, herbs, and other personal items that belonged to the 4 ninja. However, some of them had seen better days. Gozu and Maizu, better known as the Demon Brothers in the bingo books, had various bandages wrapped around them. To say the beating Kakashi had given was unpleasant wouldn't do it justice. Even now, the act of moving still made them wince. Both Chunin-level Nukenin's injuries paled in comparison to their leaders. Zabuza, the demon of the bloody mist, was resting soundly on a bed. By his side was his ward and ever-faithful companion and tool, Haku. Both Maizu and Gozu weren't the smartest of ninja. If they were then, they would not have sustained their current injuries. But both ninja knew that despite Zabuza otherwise claiming not to feel much for his ward, viewing the gifted ninja of the once famed Yuki clan as merely a stepping stone, the man did in fact care. However, life had not been kind to Zabuza, and expressing anything other than negative emotions wasn't easy for the man. The demon didn't take betrayal too kindly either. Having it occurred to him too many times in his life, Zabuza rarely gave his trust to others or opened up to others. Seeing Haku as merely a tool that would never stab him in the back than a person with questionable loyalties was most likely the man's way of coping. "Well, isn't this a fine mess?" a voice called out. An all-conscious ninja scowled as a short, professional-looking man with dark spectacles walked into the room. By his right and left sides were 2 swordsmen. One was shirtless and sporting an eye patch while the other was wearing a toque and had markings under his eyes. "I send you to deal with one simple old bridge builder, and you have the nerve to come back here empty-handed." "Some demon," the man chuckled, while Maizu, Gozu, and Haku scowled. Though far from fully healed, Gozu and Maizu were still plenty strong enough to deal with Gato and his guards with minor difficulties. Haku they knew could end all 3 before they had time to even blink. As their movements became transparently hostile, Gozu and Maizu prepared themselves to make a preemptive strike, but a look from Haku told them to stand down. Though reluctant, as the 2 were itching to cut the man and his bodyguards down, they obliged to the silent command. As Gato moved to grab at their leader, Haku's hand suddenly grasped the man's own and squeezed. The feminine ninja put enough pressure to cause pain, and mostly likely severe bruising and discomfort, but not enough to break or crack the bones. Seeing their employer in trouble, Zori and Waraji moved to defend him but found themselves defenseless. Their own swords were poised at their throats. Behind them, the Demon Brothers looked ready to skewer the 2 Ronin with their wicked, clawed gauntlets. Monsters, the 2 Ronin were caught off guard by the sheer speed of all 3. Beads of sweat began to form on all of their heads as they eyed the individuals who could easily end their lives with little to no effort. "I wouldn't get any ideas, Gato," said the man's eyes landed on Zabuza's form. The man's previously closed eyes were now wide awake, and Gato gulped as he eyed the ninja. "It could end up being hazardous to your health." The man proved his point as a kunai suddenly appeared beneath Gato's throat. It took the businessman 2 full seconds for his mind to process what just happened. By then, Gato was sweating even more and was also visibly shaking as he realized an inescapable truth. The man before him was weak, but even then he still had enough strength to kill him before it was too late. Gato was an arrogant man, and not very well versed when it came to ninja. But the man was intelligent. One didn't become a billionaire of an international company and have various connections and dealing in the underworld without it. "Now that I've got your attention, let's talk about our deal." The bedridden man's tone left no room for argument. Gato scowled, but knew how to play the game. It was the reason why his actions in Nami managed to elude the eyes and ears of the rest of the world. But things were starting to change against him. For now, he had to play it smart. One false move and no amount of money in the world would save him. Begrudgingly, the man asked, "What do you want?"
Zabuza smirked, and it only served to further anger the small man. "This mission just got more complicated. We were asked to deal with only one team. Now we have two to deal with and one of them can summon a giant fucking snake, he explained, and the man noticed Gato's face began to pale.
While Gato wasn't well versed in the ninja world, he often heard about stories about them from his contacts in the criminal underworld. Gato didn't know what a summon was exactly, but the words giant snake rang a bell in his mind and gave the man pause. The billionaire had heard tales of a powerful and twisted ninja who was infamously known for his use of serpents. In the criminal underworld, information was power. But any further information he wished to know about the individual, no matter the amount of money, had been all for naught. This meant two possible things. The contacts didn't know enough about the individual to tell him, which was highly doubtful, or this person was so powerful and feared that no amount of greasing one's palms would get them to talk. The exact words by one of his best had been, "I'd rather die by your hands than by his." Needless to say, Gato had wisely backed off. It was obvious the man was very powerful if he could instill such a large amount of fear into the hearts of others. "So here's the deal. You're gonna double the amount you owe us. It's either that or we walk and talk." Zabuza smirked, and Gato was torn between fear and anger. Fear for his operations reaching others, thus ruining his empire, and anger for being blackmailed. "Fine, double it is, but no more failures. I want this done and over with quickly. The last thing I need is word getting out," he agreed, much to his bodyguard's shock, and proceeded to leave the room.
"Gato-sama, are you sure about this?" Zabuza and the Demon Brothers failed once against a single team. With two teams, Zori began but was stopped by the man's raised hand.
"I know," Gato growled in frustration. The only reason he agreed to double Zabuza's pay was because he was at the man's mercy. If he said no, the man would have either killed him or gone blabbing to others about his dealings. There were plenty of individuals more powerful than Gato who would be very interested in using the information for their benefit. Individuals Gato wished to keep his distance from. So what now then? It was now Waraji's turn to ask. Much like Gato, Waraji was arrogant, but even he had to begrudgingly acknowledge Zabuza's superiority. Like many from a samurai upbringing, the man cared little for ninja and thought many of their swordsmen to be poor excuses, especially the 7 swordsmen of Kiri. The man attributed this as he viewed their fighting as having little to do with actual swordsmanship. Some of the so-called swords they possessed weren't even swords. "For now, we play smart," was all Gato said. The man couldn't afford another failure, and would have to get in contact with others to see how to deal with this mess and Zabuza himself. This meant that Gato would have to look into finding someone even more powerful than the swordsman himself, which wasn't going to be easy or cheap. While Gato was figuring out how to deal with this, Zabuza's group was having their own little discussion. "You should have let us deal with it," Zabuza-sama, Haku said. "I actually thought you should have killed the fat pig," Gozu added while Maizu snorted. "Pig? Yeah, right? I've seen pigs smaller than that ass." "He's more like a small cow," the man retorted. "Shut up." Their leader stopped the debate from escalating any further. The last thing he needed was hearing another one of the Demon Brothers' stupid ramblings over something just as equally stupid. "How long before I'm up and running?" "A week at best, Zabuza-sama. The poison was from a summon after all, and it took all my medical knowledge to heal you. It was touch and go, and you nearly died as a result," the ninja admitted, then added a smile. "It's a good thing you didn't? Otherwise, I'd be stuck telling Mei-sama." The other 3 ninjas shivered at the thought of having to deal with an angry Mei. It was no secret the attractive woman had a slight and flirtatious attraction with the man, but even then he wasn't exempted from her wrath. Zabuza had seen it firsthand when Gozu and Maizu made the mistake of asking why she was single. The action had started out as the cheesiest pickup lines and ended with the Demon Brothers going into intensive care. "You've got a sick sense of humor, Haku," the man deadpanned. Haku merely continued to smile. "I learned from the best, Zabuza-sama." Smartass, the man realized he might have taught his protege a bit too much and too well. Not to beat around the bush, but how are we going to deal with this? Twice the pay is good, and all but we're dealing with 6 genin, 2 nankin, and 2 jonin. One of them can fucking summon 2. How the hell are we going to deal with that? Gozu pointed out the elephant in the room. Zabuza had to admit it was one of Gozu's more intelligent questions. A rarity. But the man had a point. Kidnapping was an option, but at the moment neither he nor the demon brothers were in any shape to do it, and Haku was ironically a pacifist. The ninja still fought, but the fighting style was basically by paralyzing others and bringing them down with minimum harm as possible. Zabuza knew that the Junin would most likely keep a closer watch on the genin too. They did have one slight advantage on their side. The opposing group knew about Zabuza, Gozu, and Maezu, but not about Haku. Sometime later, while Team 7 was practicing under the watchful gaze of Midori and a clone of hers, Anko and her team were strategizing on the next step to take. Alright, the more we know about this place, the better. However, Hatake's team isn't really ready for this sort of thing just yet, so I'm stuck babysitting them for the next little while. Midori's good, but if Zabuza's got other goons working for him, they won't last long. So what do we do? For the moment, you guys will take turns guarding the old man. One of you will stay here while the others are out patrolling Nami for any clue as to where Gato's hiding out. From what I got from Tazuna, the little shit's been spotted in several locations, but he's never in the same place twice in a row. We need to find out where he's hiding and where he plans to go next. Only 2 of you will do this until Kiba, Sasuke, or Sakura finish what I assigned for them. Afterward, I want all 3 of you to start looking around, Anko said. Arf? Sorry, Pokey, but you're sticking this one out. I doubt a healthy-looking mutt's gonna be able to blend in with this place, she pointed out, and Hadamaru whined. Naruto found it ironic, really. Hadamaru knew how to transform himself into a more powerful and adult-like version of himself, but couldn't transform into anything else, really. Then again, he probably could if he put the time and effort into it. Which brings up another point, you 3 will have to be in disguise. Other than Zabuza and his posse, Gato's hired thugs are nothing more than common mercenaries. Large in number, but other than that they won't be able to distinguish a ninja using the henge. But in that ensemble, you guys will stick out like cheap hookers in a temple. The 3 ninja were not expecting such a crude description or being compared in such a way. However, Nami's pretty big, and with only you 3 I doubt this will go quickly. Which is why your shadow clones are gonna come in handy, Gaki. Huh? How's that? Hello. Did you forget that shadow clones send any information they have back to you once they pop? The whole purpose of the shadow clone was meant for infiltration and information gathering, while the original stayed safe. The only reason why it's not really used is because it takes up too much chakra and forms too many clones. It basically leaves the user too drained of chakra and leave too little chakra in the clones to work properly. Some can do it, but the amount is too few, so the method was deemed inefficient and risky to use, Anko explained. Wait, so I can learn anything the shadow clones learn? Naruto was wide-eyed at the prospect. Congratulations! You've unlocked a hidden function of the shadow clone technique. Please note that until the shadow clone technique is mastered, the effectiveness of this function will be limited. Sweet. Naruto mentally drawled and made a note to grind the skill as much as possible. Hold it! Before you go off half-cocked, you should know that while any information they learn isn't as simple as it sounds, of course it wasn't, one shadow clone popping with a bit of info being sent to you is not. A shit ton of them popping and sending that amount of info can be hazardous to your health. I heard stories about others doing this and how the brain couldn't handle the influx of information, and the results weren't pretty. This isn't like learning stuff from scrolls or book skills where your ability comes into play, Gaki. She's right, Naruto. I heard Dad talk about these kinds of cases. The brain basically had its own version of a stroke or heart attack, only a lot worse. At best, you'll suffer from a massive migraine, blackout, temporary memory loss, go into a minor coma, or you die immediately, Ino said. Dying is one of the best ones. What's worse than that? Naruto was a little unnerved. At worst, you become a vegetable. Brain dead, permanent memory loss. Enter a coma you can't wake up from. Or can't process new memories and relive each day over and over again without even realizing it. Ino was being dead serious at the moment. When it came to matters of the mind and illnesses of the mind such as this, the young Yamanaka had been taught not to joke around. No Yamanaka joked around about something this serious. If Naruto were a Yamanaka, it would be slightly different, as a Yamanaka had the ability to categorize a great deal of information influx in their brain, like an archive. Young Yamanaka like Ino couldn't do it nearly as well compared to the adults of the clan. Even then, learning too much could still have very bad side effects. Some cases could be healed to an extent, but medics needed to very skilled and quick. Hinata was getting better, but she lacked the experience and wasn't anywhere close to that level. Ino also doubted Nami had anyone with that kind of skill as well. Naruto, for his part, gulped. Okay, that's definitely a lot worse.
Normally it wouldn't be a problem if your clones were gathering information on a single subject. Say you're all reading theoretical information from the same book. The mind can handle that. With his gamer ability, it was sorta redundant on skill books, but with theory books, it was another matter. But in this case, you're gonna be gathering a bunch of different information that'll put too much strain on that brain of yours. I doubt it'll be the case, but just to be on the safe side, I only want you to make a small amount of clones.
As the shadow clone technique equally split up his chakra, Naruto made a rough calculation. The blonde determined that 12 clones, plus himself, would result in each of them having almost 1500 CP. While it was more than enough to deal with common thugs, it would most likely be another story if they came across another ninja, like Zabuza. Okay, now that that's settled, Ino, I want you and Naruto to see what you can find. Don't be afraid to use some of those skills I taught ya. She smirked, and Naruto was slightly interested. However, the interest was gone just as quickly when Ino developed a very Anko-like grin of her own. It became clear to him that Ino took to Anko's lessons even better than anticipated. Don't want to know. Just gonna pretend I didn't see it. With their duties assigned, Ino and Naruto set out to do what was asked of them. When they neared a series of buildings that spanned quite some distance and spotted various individuals walking about, they went to work. For the next half hour, the two familiarized themselves with the overall appearance of the people. As Nami wasn't exactly prosperous at the moment, clothing ranged from decent-looking to ragged, worn, and ripped. Sticking out wasn't the intent. They needed to blend in with the crowd. Naruto took on the appearance of a young man in his late teens, with short, messy brown hair, his clothing being similar to what Tazuna wore. Naruto's clones took on various appearances, ranging from children to older individuals before they set off. Ino, to his surprise, took on the guise of someone a person would normally see in a red light district. Though somewhat uncomfortable, remembering the training she had with Anko helped. Both Ino and Naruto then proceeded to go their separate ways and agreed to meet back at the designated spot in a few hours. However, the task of finding out information was easier said than done. Well over 2 hours had passed since he and Ino parted, and he still had nothing to show for it. Ino was currently in the red light district, so he left it to her. But Naruto had no idea where to begin finding the information he wanted. Ah, fuck. Naruto wondered where exactly he should go from here at this point. Were it Konoha, he'd have better luck, as he knew virtually almost all the ins and outs. Here, not so much. At that moment, he realized his wanderings somehow led him to a more secluded part of Nami. The disguised blonde doubted he'd find anything here and decided to head out. Hey there, handsome. Huh? Naruto wanted how spoke and became rigid as soon as he spotted where it came from. The voice came from a young woman, easily in her 20s, with a voluptuous figure and wearing a dress that left little to the imagination. Compared to some of the other women he saw, she looked a hell of a lot better than most. Her skin was unblemished. She wore a purple shade of lipstick, and the end of her dark brown hair was in a braid.
The woman sauntered over, unafraid. You're new here, aren't you? I've been here quite a while, seen all kinds of faces. Yours is different, you're not from around here, she said.
Huh. Naruto honestly had no idea what to do at the moment. Give him someone to fight and he'd kick their asses 100 ways to Sunday. Ask him to flirt or deal with something like this, and one would have better luck getting a rock to float on water. Who are you? He asked and mentally kicked himself. Smooth? Naruto? Smooth. Asagao, she introduced, and somehow Naruto doubted it was her real. So what's a good-looking guy like you doing in a dump like Nami? I can ask you the same thing, was his rebuttal. Witty? I like that in a man, she said and grazed her hand across his shoulder, the act making him shudder for whatever reason. But if you must know, I'm saving up till I can finally leave this place. Girls like me don't last too long, especially with Gato's men around. We're seen as entertainment for his men and himself, and that's if we're lucky. Some actually get sold off and shipped far away. On the off chance his rule here ends, I doubt they'll ever be seen again. Here Naruto noticed her eyes' subtlety shifting at various angles, as if she was scouting the area for potential danger and ready to make a dash for it if forced to. The boy realized she was being very cautious at the moment. You're awfully trusting. How do you know? I'm not one of Gato's men, he asked and saw her smirk. Please, I can spot one of Gato's men from a mile away even if they try and downplay their Neanderthal-like tendencies. You don't last as long as I do without being smart and observant. You don't have the same look they do. But it still begs the question, why are you here? Asagao asked. Naruto knew he had no choice but to bullshit as best he could. He was good at it, sorta, but this woman, despite not being a ninja, was good. He'd have to go all out, honestly. I can't remember exactly. All I remember is waking up on the shore and with pieces of wood around me. Maybe I'm a fisherman. I honestly can't remember, he said. As he knew little about Nami, the old I'm suffering from amnesia story was the best way to go at it. Asagao hummed and looked at him inquisitively before she sighed. Sounds like you're one of those brave or stupid enough to try and make a run for the mainland. Gato's got these waters constantly patrolled, and it's near impossible to get out of here without luck and careful planning on your side. I heard a couple of days ago a boat tried to make a break for it. Gato's men got to them before they got halfway across. No one survived. Guess you lucked out. Sorta, she said. Maybe. Can't exactly deny or confirm it, Naruto said, and pretended to wince as if a sudden pain struck his head. Luckily, he had given his henge a fresh scar on his head, so it would help lend some validity to the story. What's there to do around here? You mean besides being smart and keeping your head down? Nothing much, really. Nami used to be prosperous because we have skilled craftsmen you won't find anywhere else. Tons of different species of fish live and migrate here, so we made a living off that too, but Gato's got an ironclad grip on this place, and he limits who is allowed to do what. Put 1 foot out of line and you'll be wishing for death. Gato's sucking this place dry for all it's worth till nothing's left, and the people are too damn scared to fight back after what he did to Kaiza. Kaiza. Naruto was now actually getting some potentially useful information. Former local hero of Nami. She began before a startled look entered her eyes as though she suddenly heard something. Sorry, handsome, gotta go. Hope to see you again.
Naruto cursed, as he didn't get what he needed but knew she had a good reason for bolting. The woman had very good hearing. Naruto only knew about them the moment his detect presence skill came into play when they entered his range. Hey, you, an uncouth call was heard.
Me? Naruto asked, playing the ignorant fool to the nearest of the 3 men. No one else is here, retard, one of them laughed before approaching him. Who was that you were talking to? Who? Don't play dumb, kid. Word has it there's a beautiful and totally fuckable hottie that's been spotted around here from time to time. So, unless you were talking to yourself, I'm wagering you were speaking with her. He grinned, and Naruto forced himself not to gag. The man's breath reeked of poor dental hygiene and strong alcohol. A stereotypical thug? Good, this made things easier. Seriously? I don't know what you're talking about. I was just taking a walk. Apparently it was the wrong thing to say to these men as their faces contorted into angry snarls. Whether or not it was the alcohol that was influencing their judgment, or merely because they were quick to anger, mattered little now.
So it's gonna be like that, eh? The men went for their weapons, and that was all Naruto needed to see before he made his move. The fight, if one could call it that, was over before they had time to draw their weapons. Naruto proceeded by grabbing the two furthest men and slammed their heads into the middle one. The amount of force in the move had their eyes popping out comically before sweet unconsciousness took hold of them. The fact that they were only level 9 with low attributes, basically low academy level strong, also helped in making it one-sided. But it also left him with a current dilemma.
What the hell should I do with these guys? Bringing them back to one. Anko was an option, but it meant having to carry them there. As a result of his training being focused elsewhere, Naruto had yet to learn Fuinjutsu, so he didn't know how to seal people inside scrolls. Plus, Anko was looking after Team 7 at the moment. Creating some shadow clones and then disguising themselves as fellow thugs were another option. But there'd be a chance of encountering others and being found out, blowing his cover as a result, which defeated the whole purpose. Hey, wait a minute. Cage Bunshin. Shadow clone technique. If any one of you are near the red light district, get Ino and tell her to come here. He finished and proceeded to dispel the clone he just created once it served its purpose. Naruto hoped the trick worked before he began to bind and gag the unconscious thugs. Luckily, there was a ton of nearby discarded junk and garbage that could be used to hide the bodies on the off chance someone walked by. 15 minutes later, Naruto felt a rush of information flow through his head and realized one of his clones had managed to find and inform. Ino wished he found out more useful information, though. Apparently the clone was having as much luck as he was at the moment. Hopefully it wasn't a recurring theme. Naruto waited an additional 15 minutes, passing the time by knocking out the Three Stooges once they began rousing from their beauty sleep before Ino finally showed up. Took your sweet time? Naruto said, "Can't exactly run and draw attention to myself. The Amanka didn't mention that many had asked to see her along the way, and she needed to shake them off somehow. So, where are these clowns?" The disguised ninja moved his head behind him, and Ino immediately understood. Once free from the garbage, Ino got to work on their minds and tried to locate anything useful. The process took her 5 to 9 minutes per thug before she was done. By the end, the girl looked like she wanted to end their lives. Anything? All he got was a disappointed shake, and Naruto cursed. Nothing too low in the payroll. The only useful thing I found out was that Gato apparently informs certain thugs of his plans, but these assholes don't know who they are. The only two who possibly know are his personal bodyguards, but from what I saw, they rarely leave his side. Shit, all this time and they basically had nothing to show for it. Did you find anything useful? Nada. The girls I'm with spend some nights with some of Gato's men, but they don't know much. Managed to persuade some thugs when they asked for me, but it was useless shit. Upon seeing Naruto's worried look, Ino chuckled. "Don't worry, they didn't touch me. They only think they did," she smirked, and Naruto had to admit that what a Yamanaka could do to another's mind was frightening. Against a weak-minded individual, it wasn't all that difficult for Ino, especially with the training she received from Anko and her father. Against others of greater mental fortitude, it would have taken someone as skilled and experienced as Inoichi to accomplish such a task. So what do we do with these guys? Ino was going to suggest having them killed for all the sick things she saw in their heads, but refrained from it. If any of Gato's men started disappearing, it would raise suspicion. I'll alter their memories. Make it so they think they got plastered and knocked each other by accident. Keep an eye out. This will take a while, and I'm vulnerable while doing this. As Ino got to work, Naruto didn't fail to notice the bite in her voice as she said this. Whatever it was she saw must have been really bad if Ino wanted them dead. While Ino was wishing for their deaths now, she could be singing a different tune altogether after the deed was done. Sometime later, after Ino was finished with her task, both got back to work to try and find anything else that would prove useful could. It was well into the afternoon before both Ninja and Kunoichi decided to call it a day. As he ordered the clones to dispel, Naruto felt a great flood of information. "You're supposed to cancel them one at a time, Naruto." Ino chided and shook her head upon seeing his dumb grin. As he processed the new information, Naruto was even more disappointed. While only the first day, much of what they found proved to be a dead end. Oh, knowing things such as how Nami was suffering from a short food supply, among other things, proved enlightening. Much of the other information in some way or another could be traced back to Gato as the main cause. But it served little in finding out where he was. "Hey, Ino, you go on ahead." "I'll catch up," Naruto informed his teammate. Ino wasn't even able to ask where he was going before he used the Shunshin to go. Who knows where? "Just be careful, you idiot." While he wasn't the same dead last Naruto from the academy, he was still Naruto. He was smarter, but old habits died hard. Ino just hoped he didn't do anything to get himself in trouble. It was nearing sundown when Ino finally arrived back at the home of Tazuna. Knocking in a series of sequences to notify it was indeed her. The door opened and the blonde cocked an eye at the sight before her. Kiba was spread out on a couch, looking dead to the world. Sasuke himself was faring better, but Ino could tell he was exhausted. Sakura, and here Ino had to stop herself from laughing, was doing an impression of a mummy or one of the zombies from the dungeons. Hinata was back from her guard duty, and the girl had a green glow surrounding her hands as she reduced the fatigue in Akamaru. "So, how's everyone doing?" Ino asked Team 7. "Asuga," Sakura mumbled incoherently. The mere act appeared to take quite some effort, it seemed. "Translation, please." Ino looked to Kiba and Sasuke. "I'm spitballing here." Kiba began before trying to catch his breath. But I think she asked, "How are you still sane?" "She's freaking nuts," he said, and Sasuke couldn't help but agree with him. "You get used to it, sorta." She mumbled the last part. "Ah, quit your bitchin', mutt. Pale Eyes and Blondie still have a while to go stamina-wise," Anko informed the exhausted Inuzuka. "What about the dew?" Naruto. Sasuke caught himself as the woman gave the Uchiha a look. "Oh, the Gaki's a stamina beast on superroids. He's gonna make women real happy when he gets older." She smirked as Tazuna sputtered on his sake. Ino had seen the comment coming a mile away. Typical Anko-sensei. "Hey, where's Hato?" she asked upon noticing the lack of one of two Ninkin. "One of the Gaki's clones came here a while ago to grab him and head out. Told the little shit he shouldn't be out there by himself with who knows who's in Gato's pockets. So I sent Midori to keep an eye out," Anko muttered, and the way she spoke made Team 7's Genin flinch. "That's Naruto-kun for you," Hinata commented, and the girl received some incredulous looks from the Genin and her teacher. Did I say something wrong?" "Just that we weren't expecting that to come from you," Ino stated as a matter of fact. The Yamanaka heiress knew that Hina was slowly but surely coming out of her shell. She was still timid, but it wasn't as bad as when they first began. Ino heard before she spotted a young boy heading up the stairs. As it was the first time she saw the boy, Ino asked Tazuna, "Who's that?" "That's Inari, my grandson." Ino noticed Tazuna had a tired look in his eye. "Sorry about him, he's been like ever since Gato came to Nami, being trained by Anko the blonde Kunoichi. Knew she was being given a half-lie." However, what it was about also turned the mood somber, judging by the looks in Tazuna and Tsunami's faces. Ino wisely decided not to push. "Dinner will be ready soon, everyone," Tsunami announced, the woman now sporting a mask of cheerfulness. "However, we're a bit short, so we'll have to knock. Knock, knock. Knock, 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 knock. Knock. That's the Gaki," Anko stated the obvious as the knocking sequence was heard. "Hard to believe he'd remember it," Kiba grumbled, but winced as his body ached once more. The young heir knew that the old Naruto wouldn't have remembered it, and knew that it would have been an imposter. I'll get it. Being the gracious hostess, Tsunami made her way to the door, Ino having sat down beside Hinata. However, the woman was left stunned and let loose a very loud cry. Ah! The action made Tazuna stumble out of his chair and onto the ground, his sake bottle rolling out of his hand and spilling its contents on the floor. Kiba and Sasuke took a battle stance, though it was shaky at best given their current weariness. Sakura too armed herself, but the lack of feeling in her legs prevented the girl from getting up properly, and she needed to have one arm firmly placed on the sofa to keep her balance. What the hell is it? Kiba asked and prepared himself as best he could. The answer to his question, however, merely walked in through the door. A large, hairy beast, the size of a horse, entered the house, and in its maw was a dead boar of medium size. The sight of the beast unnerved the genin of Team 7, while Tsunami and Tazuna looked frightful. Kakashi wondered what all the noise was about, and saw the reason for it as he came down the stairs. Oh, hello, Hato. He greeted the large ninkin. Hato! The genin of Team 7 were floored by the revelation. Oh, come on. Even his ninkin's stronger than mine. What the fuck? Kiba whined pathetically, an act that was mimicked by his own ninkin. Ninja dogs that were given outside the clan tended to be much weaker as they could not learn their techniques anymore. Some they'd know instinctively, but even then they weren't that strong. Being with the former dead last made Hatomaru an exception to the rule. Seriously, this fucking blows. While he could maybe come to terms with Naruto being stronger than him, it was a matter of clan pride when a clanless ninkin became stronger than his own. Kiba knew he and Akamaru had some serious catching up to do. His mom wouldn't let him hear the end of if once she learned.
BAARKK. The enlarged ninkin greeted, placed the boar down, and then turned back into his miniature self. Arf, arf. The small ninkin panted and nudged the pig towards Tsunami.
Sorry about that. Naruto sheepishly grinned. My hands were full and Hato sorta knocked me aside. Bad dog, Naruto chastised his partner. Arf! Grrr, the tiger-stripped ninkin growled. Don't you flare your nostrils at me, you little shit, Naruto glared back before he entered. Over his left shoulder was a deer, and in his right hands were a pair of hares. Looking at the group, he announced, Got dinner. Needless to say, the group had plenty of food for the night thanks to his little escapade. And as they ate and filled their hungry stomachs, the group slowly forgot about their troubles and enjoyed each other's company. While they still had a while to go before they accomplished their mission, for now, they were content and happy. However, in the coming days, many would be in for rude awakenings. Ultimately, it would be a deciding factor in their lives. Would they continue on as ninja? Or would they be forced to quit? Status window. Name: Uzumaki. Naruto. Job: Genin, 15% XP gain and 15 IP per year. Skill rank: C. Level: 30 next level. 97%, 100%. HP: 11,525. CP: 19,225. Stari: 80. Vit: 341. End: 469. Dex: 93. Int: 62. Wis: 59. Cha: 16. Look. Improvement points: 0. Perk points: 12. Specialization: Ninkinjutsu Specialist increases associated titles, fighting styles, perks by an additional 25%, and increases associated attributes by 1. Fighting styles: Konoha Kenjutsu Ryu, Novice, Enhanced, 2 towards Dex per level, active as of level 30. Special perks: Gamer, allows you to view and live your life as though it were a video game. Yubi no Yoko Jinchuriki, additional 5. VIT and 7.5 End per LV. 250 CP per LV. 25% power towards all skills. 50% increase toward UHP regen. And ACP regen outside of combat, immune to basic and journeyman poisons. 25% XP and effectiveness towards U chakra control skills. 25% reputation gain towards Akanoha populace, whose relationship with you is below neutral. Unknown blessing. Your luck is immeasurable. Don't be fooled, as it can go either way at random. Perks buffs.
Additional 5 bit and 7.5 End per LB, 100 HP per LB, 25% additional express and effectiveness towards Fuinjutsu skill, minus 15% XP and effectiveness towards chakra control skills. Chakra affinity expert rank enhanced CP regen and elemental resistances increased by 40%. Speed, power and effectiveness towards ninjutsu skills increased by 40%. CP usage towards ninjutsu skills decreased by 40%.
Vigor affinity, journeyman rank, AHP regen, and I physical resistance increased by 10%. Fatigue levels decreased 10%. Titles. Rank King, additional 1. Dex per LV, 25% additional XP and effectiveness towards stealth skill. And O-trap based skills, 25% reputation gain towards pranked for 24 hours.
Expert Zombie Slayer. 60% power, express, money against undead-based monster, 30% increase towards attributes against undead-based monster, 30% chance of double loot occurrence against undead-based monster, 10% increase towards resistances against undead-based monster. Ninkenjutsu Novice enhanced 35% additional power, effectiveness, and express towards ninjutsu and kenjutsu skills active as of level 30. Novice Dungeon Master. 15% increase towards attributes, express, skills, and item drop rate while in a dungeon. CP cost for all skills reduced by 15% while in a dungeon. 15% chance of not suffering death penalty while in a dungeon. Conquering a dungeon for the first time results in an additional 25% increase in rewards active as of level 30. Description. Uzumaki Naruto's background is shrouded in mystery. A young ninja with inspirations of becoming Hokage, Naruto has a long and difficult journey ahead of him before he can attain his dream. While believed to be a shoo-in for the title of Dead Last, Naruto's come around in his last year placed him in the lower middle ranking.
Status window. Name: Hadamaru. Job: Ninken. Skill rank: DD. Level: 24, next level: 21%, 100%.
HP: 1775.
CP: 1225. Star: 48. VIT: 70. End: 50. Dex: 48. Int: 20. Wis: 29. Cha: 33. Look: 28. Improvement points: 0. Perk points: 2. Specialization: N A. Fighting style: N A. Perks: Ninja Dog. Human lifespan: ability to mold chakra, potential to speak human language. Komeinu. Lineage: Guard Dog. 1 VIT, LV 15% effectiveness, and XP towards U-biting based skills, and U detection based skills, 20% effectiveness, power, and X towards U fire based skills. Akita. Lineage: Tracking Dog. 1 Dex per LV. 15% effectiveness and XP towards E-tracking skills, 15% effectiveness, and XP towards stealth-based skills, 10% towards movement speed during and outside combat. Keen senses, 15%. Effectiveness and XP towards U-detection skill. Ignores henge, strong and pungent odors can result in debuffs. Tiles. Journeyman. Zombie Slayer. 40%. Power, exp. Money against undead-based monster. 20% increase towards attributes against undead-based monster. 20% chance of edible loot occurrence against undead-based monster. Description: a 2-old ninja dog with Kamenu blood in his veins. While possessing great potential like his cousin Akamaru, Hadamaru, like most Kamenu pups, require a good amount of discipline and can be difficult to train but are fiercely loyal and protective of their owners and partners.